Hold on, I gotta figure out the link though. Don't say anything yet, because otherwise people are gonna miss it. What the fuck? YouTube doesn't tell me the link. I don't know how to... It says I'm live. Oh, here it is. People are gonna ask about the link, so just spam this somewhere, I guess. I posted in the chat box. Right,
Copy it, yeah.
This is the pre-show anyways, we don't have to have an official...
Well, you should make like a post, too, just so people...
Can somebody else do that right now? I'm trying to figure out this draft thing.
Yeah, I'm doing it as we speak.
Thanks. Does the stream work? Has anybody checked it?
I have not.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, good. I don't want to open it because it's going to cause feedback. Oh, thanks, Inspiral. Oh, right, that's the link. I couldn't remember. It's like a weird link. Alright, sweet. Okay. Got that up. Got the rest of the draft page up. I think we are... One more test. Can you guys hear this sound?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear that.
I gotta figure out when I do play it, I have to mute you guys because I have a speaker, not headphones. Okay. Oh, make sure you have that draft document open again that I sent you, just for reference. Jumbo, if you're listening, are you going to be in the channel with us, or do you want to do stuff like as we do it, like after we do it? If you couldn't be in charge of the wiki and the posts, that would be excellent. I don't know if he's watching. Let me ask him. Alright, ask him. Okay, he's not coming. He's just gonna... Yeah, he said we already got 5 people, which seems like plenty. Alright, well, you guys can... Nobody's said that the stream's working, so I'm not sure.
It is definitely working.
Is the link I'm working out right? Nobody said anything. Maybe my shout box is just lagged.
I have it open and it's working.
Ah, yeah.
I think
it says 21 watching now. Okay, it works. All right, you guys can if you want to start up, we got 5 minutes.
All right. Welcome everybody to the 2022 NFLHC draft. This is a pre-show for 5 minutes, and then we're on the clock. Joined by Saluna.
Hey guys.
Jarrett.
Hey, everyone.
Neo.
How's it going, everybody?
And, of course, Clem.
Hello, everybody.
All right. A lot of people have been waiting for this day, and it's finally here. How hyped are you guys for this draft?
It is the absolute best day of all of CFBHC. Could not possibly be more hyped. It's going to be fantastic, one way or the other.
I'm excited, but I kind of wish it was a third round already.
Poor Colts.
Yeah, I'm not quite as in the same boat as the Colts, but, you know, for the most part, at least I'll get to talk a lot with y'all because it's not like I'll be doing very much drafting tonight.
Always trade up.
Maybe.
The benefit of this draft is that it's not the last draft, which was awful.
Yeah, this draft is significantly more talented. You can get some pretty good players towards the end of the first round. Last year, if you had to pick past like 16, you were like reaching on anyone.
Do we want to delay the start of the draft a little bit just so we can have some time to talk about stuff, or do you just want to talk about stuff as the players are chosen? Because there's quite a lot of stuff to talk about this year.
There's a lot of rounds. There's a lot of time between picks. So in the first round, so I feel like we can just go right away.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I just feel like this year we have way more storylines than in previous years.
That's true, but on the plus side too, we pretty much more than likely know who the first 2 picks are, so that gives us a little bit of play.
I feel like we don't.
All right, well, let's talk about that. A lot of people. Well, first of all, it's the Chargers traded back with the Bills. The Bills have the #1 pick now, and they're widely expected to take a quarterback, Matt Jones, but some people think Kyrie Bryant is the best player in the draft, and I think that's pretty undisputed that he should be that pick. But it's not really a need for Buffalo, and it's kind of questionable if they trade up, giving up 2 high first-round picks, mind you, to take a player that they don't necessarily need right now. So, what do you guys think of that? What if they did take Kyrie Bryant instead of Matt Jones, and do you think it's going to happen?
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. It is the Bills, and they've shown time and time again that they value, talent on the line, etc., more than a lot of people would normally think. But I feel like they're trying to do sort of a cultural turnaround up there, and giving up 4 and 5 that could get you elite talents in the draft. I mean, yeah, Bryant is fantastic, but if you give up 4 and 5 and you just go up there and you take Bryant, yes, he's amazing. He's the best player in this draft, and he's deserving in a vacuum of going #1. If you give all that up and you just go up and take Bryant at #1, it kind of feels like more of the same for the Bills. I mean, yeah, you could get something back if you trade one of your other defensive ends, but
The problem here isn't I don't know. They traded up two picks for #1, which is at that point you pretty much have to commit to a quarterback. There's not a lot of other positions you can take, but it seems like most of the site at least seems to agree that Kyrie Bryant is probably the best player since like Tyrone Jones maybe, or Brian Brown that year. It's not like he's like the 28th best strong safety. I don't know if you can forego with the trade that you used to get up to #1, forego taking a quarterback, but a defensive end here with this skill might be worth it. I don't know. I don't think
the other side of the coin is they do have the 7th pick, and people generally expect Harris to probably be there.
Yeah, so in my estimation, and I had thought about this earlier today, I actually don't think it would be terrible if it works out for them this way, if they take Bryant first and then Harris second. They don't need a quarterback. I mean, they kind of do, but not really. So, I don't know. This is just be one thing we can watch out for today.
They don't need a quarterback in the first round. I mean, they can take someone second or third and sit behind Kamau. So they can go elsewhere if they decide not to go with Jones. I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
The problem.
The other thing is with the quarterbacks, it's quite a deep class of quarterbacks compared to most years. There's at least 4 quarterbacks who might go in the first, and a bunch of other guys who had really good college careers and maybe didn't perform as well in their pro days as they would have liked, but they could still go in like the 2nd or 3rd round. So you could wait on a quarterback. And if Matt Jones doesn't go #1, do you think the Giants snap him up?
Yeah,
or is he going to fall?
I think the Giants take Matt Jones at 2 if they take Bryant 1. But as was said earlier, once you made that trade to move up to 1, I think you've kind of committed yourself to that franchise quarterback. Yeah, this is a deeper class than what we've seen in, well, definitely since when I've been on the site. Mind you, I wasn't around for the Brian Brown days. But, Jones is, I do think he's a half a head better than anyone, even including Ryan Harris. And I think that if you tried to bounce Harris and get Harris at 7 with getting Kyrie Bryant at 1, we've kept mocking, myself and a few others have mocked the Cardinals to 6, for example, at Shamar Ware, but that's not really a sexy pick, and I could easily see someone trying to jump into 6 just to snipe someone like Ryan Harris away from Buffalo.
I'll disagree with you just on the notion that Shamar Ware is a sexy pick no matter where he goes.
Oh, no, not a sexy pick.
All right, well, now that it's 8:01, the clock should be started.
Do I have to
So
start it in Spiral? I think I have to start it. Okay, I'll officially start it in 3, 2, 1. Let the first round begin. Buffalo Bills are now on the clock.
It's here, boys.
All right.
If my clock starting didn't work in Spiral, please start it. I think it's on. Yeah,
it did. It did start. All right.
So my big question is, if Buffalo takes Jones, do they start him right away, or do they sit with Kamau for another year?
I would start him right away. I personally.
Yeah, I probably would
think,
start him too, actually.
Yeah, I think Jones is ready to go.
I think both Jones and Harris and Culver could start right away.
There's some merit to making him wait maybe another year or so, but I think it's similar to Bowman last year with the Redskins, but I think there's no real reason not, especially if they have so many other first round picks that they can pair him with to get some chemistry going right away. So I think if they do take him here, I think they probably should just start him. Yeah.
I think the more interesting thing for Buffalo is, I mean, I feel like no matter which order, the first two picks are going to be Bryant and Jones. But if Buffalo takes Jones 1, what do they do at 7 to help him out? Because they've got to go for something to sort of help him. Do they go O-line? He's there to give him a weapon. No, they did just trade for Cobb, but
Faneca.
Well, Buffalo also needs a running back because they got rid of Des. So
pick is in. Before I introduce this pick really quick, we're going to be trying something new this year that I hope some people on the forum can participate in. Jumbo's going to be posting the pick as a discussion thread in the NFL forum the way our NFL does. If you guys can leave your thoughts on the pick in that thread, that would be an awesome record of what people initially thought of the picks during the draft. We're going to do it at least for the first round, and then maybe for the second, and some of the more famous picks of the later days. So just so you know. Okay, with the first pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Matt Jones, quarterback, Purdue. The New York Giants are now on the clock.
Well, I think that's what we mostly expected, and it makes the Giants pick here pretty easy. I expect it to be in about 20 seconds, if not sooner.
Yeah, so no shock there, I guess.
National champion this year. A lot of people expected him maybe to declare last year, but he came back and decided he wanted to get one more shot at the title, and it worked out. Now he's going to Buffalo. It's going to be an interesting division there now with Brian Brown, Wiegert, Watkins, and now Jones. That's some pretty good quarterbacks there.
There's no doubt, even though we don't quite know how much longer Watkins will stick around. He's a little on the older side, but he's still playing quite well. That's quite a division.
Pick is in. With the second pick of the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Kyrie Bryant, defensive end, Ohio State. Cincinnati Bengals are now on the clock.
And now the real draft can begin.
All right, now the fun starts.
Yeah, everyone kind of knew that was going to be 1 and 2. So Cincy, they can go a couple different ways here. Ever since that disaster that Danger had where they lost all of their players, their offensive line has been a disaster. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Noah Barney here. He's a guard, and a lot of people would say it's a little too high for a guard, but this guy is the best guard prospect we've had. And if doesn't pick him, I expect the Chargers will. But they could also go Timothy Key. He'd be a great guy to line up next to Sila, who they picked last year, and that would be the start of quite a fearsome D-line.
I think the pick's really got to be between those two guys. I really don't see any. My pick probably be Key, just guard. Maybe it's a little deeper. Maybe not very talented, but a little deeper than defensive end is.
Yeah, I have a couple of things to say on Barney, who I would have no objection to him being the pick here. It makes a ton of sense for their offensive line. He's a dinosaur from our imagination, and when he's tall, he is what we call a dinosaur sensation.
Really?
I mean, come on. The dude's a monster. He might as well actually be a dinosaur.
Neo, did you enter a bet to say dinosaur as many times as possible on the draft broadcast?
I have no comment on that.
All right. All right. I don't know. My opinion here is that Barney should probably be the pick, but I don't know if somebody, especially in a year like this, wants to waste the 3rd overall pick on a guard. Well, waste in quotes. We know how everybody hates O-line in this.
Yeah, they do have well, I mean, people don't like offensive line, but I feel like that's sort of shifting away from offensive tackle, because it's proven to be a lot more difficult to get your hands on a good interior guy than outside guy on the offensive line. So I feel like that might edge interior with, especially in a draft where we have guys like Barney and Cuellar and Sutton from Louisiana Tech. I feel like this sort of the rise of the interior guys in this class.
The fact that we might have 3 centers going in the first round, this is a storyline for today that is pretty crazy, considering we've only ever had, I think 3 maybe ever, or 4 ever go in the first round.
Yeah, center is really deep in this class, which we've never had a deep center class. And it's really only deep till the first, maybe second round, but I mean, that's way more than we usually have. And Xavier, how do you say his name? Cuellar?
It's Cuellar.
Cuellar is maybe the second best center prospect we've ever had. It's hard to say between him and the Alabama guy from a couple years ago. But they're both surefire Pro Bowlers at the very least.
And I think part of that also is that for some reason, there just seems to be such a need for so many teams to have a center this year. And then on top of that, the free agency class for centers was absolute crap. So, yeah, I'd be very sad to see 3 centers go in the first round, but it also wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, we're in we're going into the 9th year of NFLHC, and there's still a couple of positions where, there's so few guys that when a team gets a top end guy at that position, they just don't let him go. Defensive end is kind of one of those. I know we had Ron Rice hit free agency last year, but that was an aberration. Center is, it's just one of those positions where guys don't get out.
The safety spots, I think both safety spots are pretty poor in that regard at the moment, although they don't seem as contested for whatever reason. Free safety in particular is, I think, probably actually the weakest position at the moment, at least.
Yeah, on Cuellar, I feel like as good as Sutton is, he's excellent in his own right. Cuellar is probably the best center prospect since Enoch Dickinson.
Pick is in. With the 3rd overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Timothy Key, defensive end, Florida. The Chargers are now on the clock.
Well, that's a pick that was popular early in mock drafts, and then Barney kind of stole the show there. But I guess this isn't particularly surprising, especially since, as I've just said, defensive end is one of those positions where it's tough to get top guys.
That's very true. I like this pick a lot. I think next to Sila, he's going to feast on quarterbacks in Cincinnati.
Do they run a 3-4? I guess so.
Yeah, Sila is like a pure nose tackle, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, since they got Lattimore last year. It's not a great fit for – I didn't think it was a great fit going in for their one of their other defensive linemen, but now that they got Key in there, I mean, hey, go whole hog into that.
I believe that this means that most mock drafts are already incorrect.
Most of the recent ones are, anyway.
Mine's still good.
Oh, that's weird. Actually, this is something we could talk. Key was kind of like considered for the top first or second pick for most of the last couple months, and then just in the last week or so, completely fell off. Like down to, I saw him going as low as like 10, 11, 12, but he goes 3 in the end.
Yeah, I think that was mainly because of the pro days and combine came out, and Kyrie Bryant just outshone him in every way. But Key, in his own right, was still really fucking good. So
Key is about as good as you could ask for if you're a 3-4 team looking for a defensive end. That's hard to pass up.
This year is actually pretty crazy for defensive ends because, especially for some of the people that have been around for a longer time, like Sebastian Smallwood has been quite good for a very long time, and it's shocking that he's only the 3rd best defensive end in this class.
Yeah, Smallwood has like almost 30 sacks the last 2 years combined, and like coming into the season, he was considered like a top pick overall kind of guy, and then really no fault to his own, he just kind of fell down just because of how good Kyrie Bryant was.
Interesting note, apparently Cincinnati's front office has been saying on social media, has put out a statement that Key was the guy all the way, and Barney was just pure hype from the public.
I mean, I can see that, but I think Barney still would have. I mean, their O-line is a disaster.
Oh, there's no doubt Barney would have been a great pick there. No doubt at all.
It's not really all hype when it's like probably their biggest need, to be honest.
I think a lot of people think that there's going to be some O-line available at the top of the second that are pretty good, and they have number 36. So maybe that's their play.
That could be it.
Interesting tidbit here. That Funk was the original recruiter of Tim Key to Florida. So they're reunited now.
Probably feels pretty good.
Wow. He said, I guess this is what you were referencing when you said on social media, but he said he didn't really consider Barney at all, which is kind of shocking to me, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah, I agree that Key is a better play because you probably will find some, starter level guards at the very least at the top of round 2. But to say that you never consider them, that is a little surprising.
Especially since Barney is so much better than the rest of these guards. You might get starting level guards the 2nd round, but they might not really progress past 85, whereas Barney might be 90 overall in 2 or 3 seasons.
Pick is in. With the 4th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Noah Barney, guard, Ohio State. The Chargers are on the clock again.
And that's a great pick because we're talking about offensive line disasters. I mean, they had 2 guys that literally wanted out, right? I mean, they had to when they put the tag on their tackle, he was pretty turned unhappy.
Yeah, their quarterback last year, Matty Swift, got sacked more than 50 times, and that's a disaster. You can't have that. He's lucky he didn't get injured. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these other picks is one of the tackles. Maybe not this one, maybe their next pick. But I think that's a great pick for them, and I don't like that they got him. But I mean,
I think they should go Yeldon here. Like, I don't really think there's anything around it. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah, it would be a great fit. I could see them going in another direction, but I've been expecting them to go O-line and then Yeldon for a while. I mean, I think I've mocked it.
I would not be surprised if they went for the center here,
Cuellar. Yeah, that was one that I mocked. I think I had mocked them, Cuellar and Yeldon. But
you think they
Barney
go O-line twice back to back?
It would. I mean, if your O-line is that much of a disaster, it's not a bad idea, I think.
I mean, their whole team is a disaster, let's be honest. They need
Literally
any of these top players. I guess they can't really go wrong. And this is something that Pump said a couple years ago.
Yeah. Said no matter who he takes, it's going to be a great fit, which is more or less true.
Like what? Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of stuff that's stacked. I think him in the end actually not going quarterback is something I can respect because they had way more other needs than going QB.
Yeah, and even if Matty Swift is probably never going to develop into what they kind of wanted early, I mean, now you can set it up for the next guy pretty well.
Pick is in. With the 5th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Kenyon Justice, cornerback, Auburn. The Cardinals are now on the clock.
This is actually something that I kind of predicted that they would take this in my own mock draft. I think I did that I did quite a while ago. This was like before early decks even, when they still had number 1 and I think a different other pick. But Justice is basically going to be trying to answer for Nick Hall because they've had really bad problems defending the pass, and their corners are just terrible. They don't really have anyone that's a cornerback 1 on their roster, and now they do. So that's pretty good for their defense. I guess 1 offense, 1 defense at 4 and 5, not a bad idea for a team like them.
I think it's probably an okay pick. This is actually the first, I think, more or less unexpected pick. I mean, I considered it to them, but I didn't see this brought up that often in the past. It does make sense though. They need an answer to Nick Hall. I guess the Chiefs and Broncos are not really filled with star-studded quarterbacks at the moment, but they do need to shore up that passing defense because they gave up some ridiculous amount. I don't have it in front of me, but I know their pass defense last year was the worst for sure.
Yeah, I can totally see them. I didn't have them mocking this. I guess he's either he likes Brandon Austin a lot more than any of us thought, or he figures that maybe someone like Randall might slip to 15 at his next pick. But considering that Kenyon Justice seems to be about head and shoulders the best cornerback in this draft, how you feel about Tre'Davious Dykes set aside, I can totally respect this pick.
Cornerbacks going overdrafted in NFLHC, name a better pair.
Yeah.
You would know, Neo.
I would know.
This is actually really interesting where we're at right now because there's a possibility, because Arizona signed Chad Dess, so they don't need a running back for right now. There's a possibility that Buffalo ends up with both Matt Jones and Trevone Yeldon because they have the next pick after this. Somebody might be trying to trade up for him. I wouldn't be surprised.
If that happens, I think the Bills obviously take him, but I'm not sure I like that as much as them taking something to help protect Matt Jones. I feel like this is just my philosophy in general, but I think if you commit a first-round pick to a skill position player, you give that player help in some way. So if you take a quarterback, you take O-line. If you take a running back, you take O-line. Something like that. I guess he's in a way providing help, but their O-line is also quite trash.
Well, they do have Mike Woods.
That's true.
I don't know about the rest of their O-line, but
who's their running back right now? Sheffield, I think.
I thought they traded him.
Madison.
Oh yeah, it's Marshawn Matheson.
Yeah. Their running backs are pretty atrocious, but I feel like even if you took Yeldon, you still need blockers for both him and Jones. So
I don't think it's necessarily like, I think a running back does help a quarterback, especially somebody like Matt Jones, who I see as like, I don't necessarily see him as like a high volume passer. I see him as like kind of a balanced offense kind of guy. So
I mean, I agree that it definitely does help to take a running back, but they have to update their offensive line somewhere, even if it's not at 7. they've got to do it somehow, somewhere. Those two guys need help.
I don't think Buffalo takes a lineman. It just doesn't make sense for what their needs at offensive line are. I think Sutton's too early at 7, and none of the other guards are worth the first, in my opinion.
I mean, all their needs are basically offense. They have some secondary needs. I don't think Shamar Ware makes sense here. They obviously don't need Ryan Harris since they just took Jones. Yeah, I'm not sure.
The best bet for Buffalo will probably be Yeldon, in my opinion. I think that's just
I'm almost
be a good pair.
I would bet Shamar Ware to the Cardinals and Yeldon to the Bills as the next two picks.
I think I would think that the Cardinals are in talks to move down for somebody trying to get Yeldon.
That should be what's happening, but I'm not sure. Well, they are taking a while, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean they've been taking calls. I know that.
I feel a little bit for Jumbo here from the Dolphins getting Weldon last year and now Yeldon going potentially to the Bills. That would be something else.
Just wait till Zeldin gets there next year.
The Cardinals have 4 minutes left. We are absolutely flying through the first round today.
Well, it seems like pretty much everybody knew what they wanted so far going in.
Yeah, there haven't been any trades yet.
Part of it, I think, was that there was no... there's not a lot of overlap with the top teams and competing needs. There's some, but not as much as in previous years. Everybody kind of had a different need. Apparently the Broncos are in talks to move up, but...
Up to 6?
That's what it sounds like. Or is at least trying. It makes sense for the Broncos to want Yeldon since he's a Bingo's running back.
But they have J.B. Black now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe what you could do is if you really wanted Yeldon, you could just package Blacknall with a pick.
I guess, but I think if they trade up here, if Denver trades here, I think they're going to take Ryan Harris.
Yeah, you don't trade up this high to get Jarvis Ward.
I wouldn't. I don't think you need to trade up to this point if you're trying to compete with people who are trying to get Yeldon. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The other possibility would be Jarvis Ward or maybe Lattimore if they like him more.
Just for information, and this is the most NFLHC thing to happen in this draft so far, the Vikings general manager is apparently pissed drunk and might need help making his pick.
Oh no!
That's a quote from
drink responsibly, boys. Don't drink and draft.
Freshman.
There's a kicker named Sam Walsh, Vikings. I think he's top first-round material.
Definitely take him at 8.
Cardinals are running out of time here. They only got 2 minutes left.
Pretty much everyone has the Vikings taking a defensive end in their mocks, but they also need a running back, don't they?
Their D-line is terrible, though.
It would be a stunner if they didn't take Smallwood. I don't know if Holmes is really a fit.
I'm pretty sure Minnesota's running a 3-4. That'd be the only reason they'd take Holmes over Smallwood.
Yeah, Smallwood tested a little better.
Cardinals.
Apparently they don't know their username, even though it says it right in the fucking ticker.
Pick is in. With the 6th overall pick of the 2022 NFL... Sorry. With the 6th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Trevone Yeldon, running back, Oregon. The Bills are now on the clock.
That's really unexpected, but at the same time, I guess this is their future because they did sign Des.
Could they be going to a 2 running back offense? They could run Des and Yeldon and then have Davenport kind of be another threat on the ground as well.
2 power backs? I don't really like that. Either they're planning on not having Des for more than a year, or else maybe they couldn't get a trade worked out in time, and it's just kind of like a draft rights trade maybe later.
I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Like, Des hasn't really been that good for like a year or two now. So,
but
no,
they
you're
gave him
not
a lot
wrong,
of. They gave him a lot of money though.
Yeah,
someone look up his contract. What did they sign him for?
okay, then I don't know. Then this pick doesn't make any sense to me. Then
This was one of those stupid contracts for the last 2 years where like $500,000 non-guaranteed. So it was like it's like $16 million first year or something like that.
Yeah, they poison pilled us basically. We were their competition.
Des signed for
dropped a bunch in there
$17.5 million fully guaranteed this year, then $4.5 fully guaranteed next year, then 2024 and 2025 are a bunch of bullshit. Whatever, less than $1 million non-guaranteed.
so what they're doing is Des is going to start, and then Yeldon is going to take over. I don't know why you would sit a running back for 1 year. That doesn't really make any sense to me. But that sounds like what they're doing.
I mean, maybe they try to. I mean, I don't know that you can get any trade value for Des with that kind of contract.
You're not getting anything for Des.
I mean, 2 power running backs doesn't work for 2 running back systems, so they don't. It's either going to be start Yeldon and waste Des, or start Des and let Yeldon sit for a year, or trade, or it's a draft pick, draft rights kind of thing.
That would make sense if they're doing it.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll find out in the near future.
I mean, I would love this pick for the Cardinals if they hadn't just committed a lot of money to Des.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think one interesting thing is, what does that do for Buffalo at 7 now? How do they feel about Kenyon Randall, or do they go with Cuellar at center, or do they maybe even think about Shamar Ware to be in between Ortiz and Galbraith?
I think they could actually. Almost all of it seems legitimate here. I think Jarvis Ward might not even be that bad of an answer, because their receiving core is also quite terrible. Although they've committed several higher picks to that in the near past.
Yeah, they took Chambers in the first last year, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's true. Pick is in. My sound thing is not working. Sorry. Pick is in. With the 7th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Xavier Cuellar, center from Florida. Jaguars are now on the clock.
Yeah, it's a great pick. It's a huge need. Cuellar is the best center prospect we've seen since Dickinson. I mean, hey, it is what it is.
I don't know. I think Hurd was better than Dickinson, but yeah.
As it's my pick, I'm going to bow out of the discussion for the next couple minutes.
So, Jarvis Ward?
I think it's going to be Shamar Ware.
Yeah, that would be
he's already like a value pick, I think, because DT is really thin this year. And there's like no defensive tackles next year. I think Bubata said there's 1 5-5 coming out.
Yeah, there's the 5. What's this? Man, he's my player now. I can't even remember his damn name. Well, anyway, he's the 5-5 out of Washington. He's a 1-gapper. So yeah, that's all you got.
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier. Shamar Ware would be a sexy pick no matter where he goes. So,
and that would be a fearsome D-line. They already have
Ron Rice,
and what's Preston Bryant?
Yep.
And they both made the Pro Bowl last year. So
it's going to be a nasty deep. It's going to look a lot like the real Jags.
Pick is in. With the 8th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, my Jacksonville Jaguars select Shamar Ware, defensive tackle, Penn State.
Yeah, that's an awesome pick. That's an awesome pick.
He also recruited him, I believe, right?
Yeah, I recruited him. So it's been kind of interesting watching what people thought I would pick the whole time. Ware was my target like the entire process, basically. I never considered Ward or Cuellar or any of these other people that people assumed I was considering. My second choice would have been to trade down if he was not available, but I got lucky, I guess.
I'm a little sad that Ward wasn't under consideration. I just think he would be a perfect fit in an offense with T-Rod.
I really don't want to take two wide receiver. Like, drafting only offensive talent in the first round for like 5 years in a row seems like a terrible idea to me.
Oh, wow. It's 5 years in a row you've done that? Dang.
I think so. It's been
that's perfectly fair. And I mean, Shamar Ware is awesome. I mean, definitely one of my favorite players in the whole class.
Yeah, they drafted basically they traded up for like a wide receiver, a running back, and you didn't have a first round pick last year, right?
I didn't have one last year, no.
So yeah, I mean they got like really fucking good players from that, but like they don't need another like top tier wide receiver.
Pick is in. With the 9th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Sebastian Smallwood, defensive end, Alabama. The 49ers are now on the clock.
I don't think anyone is surprised by that. I'm not sure they've even been mocked anybody but Sebastian Smallwood.
I think that's legitimately like the most straightforward pick.
I thought Smallwood was going to come out last year and be a top 5 pick. And the fact that he's not even a top 5 pick this year is stunning to me.
I mean, he would. I feel like he would be in any other year. So,
Yeah, I think he's not a top 5 pick just because of how good the top talent in this class is.
Yeah, I think Minnesota is like
really, really good pick.
Minnesota is like creaming their pants right now with how lucky they got with this class and having that pick. Even one pick later, they wouldn't have gotten him because I'm sure SF would have taken him if they were at 9.
So the Browns are apparently mad.
They're mad because I said Lucas Hurd is better than their center.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, I mean, that's a perfectly fair discussion.
It's blasphemy, but whatever.
He won a Super Bowl as a rookie, so the Browns have they even made the playoffs with it? I don't know.
2016 and lost to Vamos Ramos as the backup. And that's it.
Oof.
That was not a fun season.
El Pollo Loco.
So San Fran definitely also needs a defensive end. A lot of people are mocking them. What do you guys think is going to happen here?
I think it's got to be Holmes. They haven't had a real pass rusher or any sort of really good defensive end ever. I think their franchise record for sacks in a season by a single player is 6. So they need some help there.
Oh, God, really? That's bad.
I wouldn't have been surprised if Cuellar or Ware had been here, if they had maybe gone in that direction, just because of how great those players are. But yeah, this is gonna be Holmes, and I'm gonna die a little inside.
Does it fit their scheme?
No one else has a different direction for San Fran?
No, I can't really see one.
I mean, maybe Kenyon.
What about
could be
Randall?
Yeah,
I think it might be Randall because the Auburn. Oh wait, no, he's LSU, right? Yeah.
Go Tigers.
I was gonna say they have a running back now who they're pretty unhappy with. He's kind of regressing. I think he's unhappy with them. Let me look.
he's also like a 6th year or something, or 5th year.
He's 5th year, 83. I think they just gave him like a short 2-year extension. So I think they're definitely looking for his replacement and just sign him to have just a body on the roster in that position.
Yeah, McCray, he's unhappy as well. And their running backs below him are not even worth discussing.
By the way, something I wanted to mention really quick while it was my pick. I'm not going to reveal who, but there are a lot of teams trying to trade up. I got 4 offers in like the 2 minutes I was on the clock. So if you're trying to trade down, you should not have a problem.
Yeah, I think that running back is a consideration for the Niners, but considering the positional scarcity, because basically after Holmes and DE kind of drops off a cliff depending on how much you believe in Miles Slater. While running back, they do the likes of Deshaun Dockery and Evan Grant have warts. Oh yeah, but that's still a better option than Slater or Lucas Benton or someone along that line.
Interesting note, since we were talking about teams trying to trade up, which San Fran, even though they're likely going to get the button, they got their finger over the button for Holmes, they're probably at least entertaining. I've heard from sources that there are a couple of teams that are not interested in trading down. They are locked in at a spot. They have a guy that they are watching, and one of those is Chicago.
That's got to be like Brian Chavez or Kyle Will or TJ Franklin. That's got to be offensive line Chicago's looking out for.
I'll even throw another name onto that pile, David Sutton.
I think it's probably too high for that at the moment, although he is good.
Yeah, they could trade down. They could trade down.
Or after that, Javon, Hargrove is great, is fine, and then after that, center really falls off a cliff. So up until a week or so, we were talking about how there's such a cliff between the top defensive ends and everyone else, but now we're probably going to see real soon that there's the real cliff is center and then everything else.
Sort by if you go by 40 time with the 49ers, then they got to go Tre'Davious Dykes, right?
Oh man,
are we doing this already?
Sorry, pick is in. With the 10th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, San Francisco 49ers select Parker Holmes, defensive end, Tennessee. Chicago Bears are now on the clock.
Sigh.
I think the Bears have an interesting choice here. They really need O-line, but they also need a running back. And since they have a scrambling quarterback, if they're going to try and run an offense with a crappy running back, it might not work very well. And then again, their O-line has been one of the worst in the league for years and years and years. So I think everyone has them taking an offensive tackle, and I think that's probably the right decision. But look for Randall maybe here.
There's been some buzz about Jarvis Ward to Chicago, but I'm not really sure I see that.
The receivers are kind of old, but I don't really like that.
I think the Bears team in general is one of the oldest, right?
They're definitely up there.
This is kind of a weird position actually to be drafting in. Now that I look at the top remaining players, it seems like we're slowly sliding off the elite talent. They don't need a linebacker, which would be there's some choice here. I think this is Chavez, honestly.
I have a hard time seeing them go against O-line, but maybe Randall, even though I think Randall's an odd choice. There's a lot of talk that he kind of struggled outside of pro-style offense. I don't know how true that is, but
why is Randall falling? He's a running back, I guess, which is kind of hit or miss, but I really expected him to be going in the top 7 or so.
I never really got that sense from him. I felt like he was a kind of a mid first round guy that's sort of risen up a little bit late in the process. Yeah. That's always just the sense I got from him.
No, yeah, that's possible. I had him on my board at 8 or 9. I didn't really scout him that much because I didn't need running backs, to be honest. So. Pick is in. With the 11th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Brian Chavez, offensive tackle, Baylor. The Browns are now on the clock.
I mean, that fills a pretty huge need, so not a whole lot of argument against that pick.
I think this is another one of those picks that like almost everybody kind of predicted, right?
And even with offensive line offensive tackle specifically being pretty deep in this draft and a lot of people expecting them to drop, Chavez is a great one. And I can see why the Bears wouldn't want to pass up on him here. And so, yeah, he was a Bear in college, and now he's a Bear in the NFL.
Bear down, I guess.
No, that's Arizona.
Not in this case.
Well, he's kind of bearing up.
He's bearing up, bearing down. The Browns now are kind of interesting. Mostly because their needs do not line up with what's available on the board whatsoever. I actually had a really hard time looking at their roster during mocks. They need safety help, they need O-line, and they need like secondary skill positions like tight end and outside linebacker.
They've been a popular target for trade up and down talks. Which isn't really surprising. I mean, you're absolutely right. The draft here doesn't really line up with their needs that well.
I would have said that they would take an offensive tackle here, but they signed, they lost Preston Gill, who was their starting offensive tackle in free agency this year. The problem is that I think they kind of need other stuff just because they have a lack of they just don't have a lot of players.
Well, they do have 3 80-plus rated tackles on the roster, so I don't know if tackle's the right move here.
How old are they?
One's a 6th year, one's a 2nd year, one's a 4th year, so not super old, but not super young.
I don't know.
A couple of teams trying to get in here late to trade up.
I think that's what's happening right now is that somebody's trading up. Value right now, Jarvis Ward's kind of sliding a little. I actually had Ward like 15th or something on my big board, but I think for some people it seems like Ward is sliding. For me, Randall's sliding, but not for others, obviously. Harris, I think at this point is great value. If you're looking for,
I would not be surprised if the Lions or somebody was trying to, or the Chiefs was trying to trade up for Harris here.
I think the Lions are probably the best bet for Harris.
Lions, or maybe the Chiefs trying to jump the Lions.
Maybe even the Broncos.
The Chiefs.
Broncos are possible.
The Chiefs didn't address quarterback at all, right? No, they didn't.
No, they did not.
Ooh, that's.
And
Everybody sort of mocked them Culver.
That doesn't sound like Enmise to me for some reason.
No, well, he's been pretty vocal about wanting to trade up or down, and nobody really knows what he's ever going to do. So that guy's a wild card.
I just have a hard time trying to see him spend a first on someone like Culver or Harris when he seems like he's devalued his passing game since he traded away Montgomery.
This is just a quick question for myself, actually. The Chargers are picking at 15. Who did they get that pick from?
Us, Indianapolis.
What was it for?
Anthony Miller.
Ah.
They also have our 2nd.
Well then, see you guys in 48 hours.
Yeah, we'll be picking at like 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
I hope you guys had fun in this loaded draft. Where did they get their other pick?
We've got our eyes on some guys in the 3rd round, but we would have loved to have been in the 1st this year, but maybe a little short-sighted last year.
I guess you would have loved Anthony Miller more.
We kind of have to. I mean, he had a good season for us, but 1st and 2nd is kind of tough to part with.
The LSU coach is kind of shit-talking his running back right now.
He did that after the season ended, too, when I think Randall not declared, but when he was announced,
I think
he kind of said he didn't really like him that much.
I think the Texans
he was shocked at his rating. Again, I think he struggled trying to find an offensive fit for him. I think Randall's very talented, but his talent has sort of a narrow focus.
Ooh,
if you're not on the right spot, then it's not going to work out.
Pick is in. The Chiefs traded up with the Browns.
That'd be Harris.
Ryan Harris.
12th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Ryan Harris, quarterback, Fresno State. Patriots are now on the clock.
I really like that pick for the Chiefs.
Rip loins.
Yeah, it's a pretty good pick for them. Now they really need receivers now. What was the trade? Does anyone have it up? Oh, it looks like it was the first and third round.
That's pretty good, actually, I think.
Yeah.
Is that it?
They moved up from 18, so it's not like a huge jump.
I know, but I think at this point you have to, like, a third round seems fair to me.
Yeah. I was gonna say, with the Yeldon pick from before, it's one of the Cardinals people said it was the best pick available for them, and they'll figure the strategy out later.
I mean, that's fair. You could argue he was the best player on the board.
I've been told by some people that we have, like, several new members watching. Like
I will say, I said this earlier when free agency started, it seemed like the Cardinals didn't have a plan, and it seems like they just confirmed that.
The
Wait, that was the
TCU
Browns.
College coach is
No, I was talking about the Yeldon pick.
I agree. I'm saying the TCU college coach is shit talking Brian Chavez.
What is happening? Why is everybody shit talking their own players?
No, he's a conference rival for him.
Oh, okay.
It's danger.
So where do we see the 8 Patriots going?
I think I wouldn't. Well, here's the best pick for them would be Randall. They need a running back, and if Sleuth was still on New England, I'd say maybe Jarvis Ward, but he's no longer there because that's his player. But I think he's like a scout on the Ravens now. But
I think this is like very obviously Randall. They don't really.
New England, despite not being that good, they don't really have a ton of like glaring needs.
They're just kind of mediocre everywhere.
Yeah, they're just really average.
Randall is definitely the guy that I'm pegging here. It's a big need, and they need star power, which he could potentially provide.
Like, their biggest other needs are defensive end and defensive tackle, both of which there's like no value at this pick for. So
yeah, their defensive ends are old. I think linebacker is a need for them as well.
Yeah, also linebacker, I think it would be a desperate need right now for them.
Yeah, it is a reach, but when you need one that badly, I mean...
Does anybody else get the same feeling from the draft as, like, opening Christmas presents?
Yes, absolutely.
It's like a new toy, and it's just shiny, not damaged. You can't wait to try it out in the morning.
I told somebody at work today that it was football Christmas tonight, and they said, oh, you're doing your fantasy draft. And I was like, yeah, sure, kind of.
Yeah, I'm fantasy drafting tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday.
We're very devoted here.
I think Patriots could take Randall here, and then Davin.
But sorry, Clem.
Oh, sorry, no. I think Patriots could take Randall here, and then maybe take Philip Davenport at 30, and fill probably two of their biggest needs in the first round.
yeah, I remember they had Miami's pick because they for some reason thought it was a good idea to trade Randy Moss to their division rival.
Sorry, Jets.
I'm looking at like a comparison to last year's draft, and last year was such an awful draft. What in the world happened?
There's a good question from the chat. What if the Patriots take Culver as sort of a heir apparent to Watkins? What do the Lions do?
Trade down.
I mean, it's not like there aren't enough quarterbacks, to be honest.
Yeah, but I don't think you take another one.
No, you just take one in
here.
the second, but take something else.
People are assuming the Lions are going to take a quarterback. I don't think that's necessarily a given.
Yeah, they haven't actually said anything about it. I just think it's just like it started out maybe as a kind of meme. I think it has some truth, maybe.
From what I had heard, the Lions were definitely looking at Ryan Harris. I don't know about Culver, but they were looking at Harris pretty hard.
If New England doesn't take Randall, Detroit absolutely will, I think, because their running back situation is a disaster.
I think they have two number 2 running backs in the roster and no number 1. I think that's the biggest problem for them right now.
And let's not forget, LeCount has been very good for most of his career. He did get injured last year, and he has like an injury history, but they don't necessarily need to draft a quarterback who they need in the first round.
If they didn't want to go quarterback, they could always look at Tyrese Thompson, who would pair quite excellently with Cameron Jones, because the inside linebacker is kind of a need. They have some young guys, but nothing with star power like Thompson would.
The Patriots are down to 4 minutes.
I mean, they've got to be entertaining trade talks here.
Just quickly bring this up. We talked about the Chiefs trading up to take the quarterback, but let's talk about the Browns really quick. So they moved down 6 spots and got a 3rd rounder out of it, which I think for them is pretty good, honestly. Like, they didn't have any great needs. I had already talked about it when it was their pick initially, that there was no real overlap of their needs and available like BPAs. But they got another 3rd rounder out of it, and they don't really move down that far, and it moves down to a position where there's much better players available for their needs.
We haven't had a receiver taking it, so they can probably still get Tevin Lattimore. They're at 18.
Do they need a receiver? They need a tight end.
Well, really, Marconi is 90 years old, and he's their number 2 receiver right now. So
I can't believe that guy's still around, to be honest.
I love him so much.
He's like the most mediocre guy that's just like around forever for some reason.
He's been the Browns' number 2 receiver, I think, for 9 seasons.
What's the deal with New England? Are they going to pick? They got a lot of people trying to trade up, I think. Maybe that's why. I know Denver is trying to trade up.
Trade talks, because otherwise this should pretty much obviously be Randall at this point.
If the Patriots somehow with a new organization miss their pick again, then they're cursed.
That would be incredible.
Well, the real question is, will the Patriots, again with a new organization, trade within the division a player that turns into a star?
Patriots are down to just over 2 minutes left.
Also, I'm not sure if people on Detroit are actually here. They might have somebody drafting for them.
That's awkward.
I think the Rams might have some. I think is Danger.
Yeah, the Rams
definitely.
the
Rams?
Yeah, Danger is drafting for the Rams. I know that.
Jumbo's African internet is having troubles, so some of the comments and pictures and such might be a little delayed. He's like ranting to me.
Oof.
Such as Africa.
Maybe he should have blessed the rains.
Trade. Atlanta has traded up with the Patriots.
This could be Culver.
Wow.
This is.
No, I think this is
Randall. I'll be sad.
Yeah, I think this is Jarvis Ward.
I'll be. Well, yeah, I'd be
Why
sad.
would this be Randall? They have Achille.
Oh no! You said Atlanta. Never mind. Sorry.
It could be Ward, but I mean, they really need a linebacker. I thought they were going to draft an inside linebacker, but
Tyrese Thompson was mocked to them so many times, and Marcus Golden.
Interesting.
I'm not sure they would have had to trade up for that.
They moved up 4 spots from 17, gave up a 3rd rounder, but got New England's 5th.
So I mean, if you're trying to get Ward, who are you trying to get in front of?
Pick in.
The Giants, probably.
Pick is in. With the 13th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Donald Culver, quarterback, Utah. The Lions are now on the clock.
Called it.
So they're trying to get in front of Detroit.
Back-to-back quarterbacks.
I don't know if I like this.
Well, they have A.J. Jefferson on the tag, right? Or I believe they tagged him.
Yeah, he's on a tag.
He's tagged.
So that's a good pick for their starter in the future. He might even start right away. A.J. Jefferson, let's remember, seems to get injured every year. So
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you let Jefferson start the year to begin with, there's a pretty decent chance Culver's going to play at some point.
Pour one out for the Lions. They just got jumped twice for 2 quarterbacks. If they did indeed need a quarterback. If they didn't, then they just played everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of hype and there was a lot of talk that they were looking at Harris pretty hard. I don't know about Culver, but the Lions could always just take an elite inside linebacker or running back. I mean, they have a lot of options here, actually.
Are there a lot of Mormons in Atlanta?
No, Houston's got a lot. I don't think Atlanta really does.
Oh, is Culver Mormon? He went to Utah. He didn't go to BYU.
There's plenty of. His
nickname is the Mormon Laser Cannon.
That's true. Forgot about that. But he went to the wrong one.
On Donald Culver in Atlanta, that's a bit surprising. I thought they might have waited till second round and grabbed Jordan North, because I know Ace Wolf kind of likes North quite a bit. So it is a little surprising here.
I really like these trades that the teams moving down made. Both the Patriots and Browns. Like, they moved down very few spots and got like a third or fifth. No, it was both. They both got thirds, but New England gave up a fifth to get their third. I think those are really good trades for those organizations.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Atlanta also asked me about Jordan North, so I was surprised that they took a quarterback this early too.
Oh, they did ask you about Jordan North?
Yeah, they were asking me like scheme stuff and like what I think of him.
I wonder.
Well, I think they were doing a deep dive into several quarterback prospects to kind of see where they wanted to go.
Is
with
asking college coaches more pervasive than it seems? Because I got asked about several of my players. I had like 5 people ask about Key.
Yeah, that definitely happens. The Saints have asked college coaches about players. I've been asked multiple times about Arizona players that have been coming out.
Yeah, this must be something that like nobody ever talks about, but happens quite frequently. I also had people ask about Cuellar.
I've had someone. We asked somebody something once, and they told us they didn't want to reveal it. I can't remember why, but they were like, they were very secretive about it.
Wait, you asked them about you asked?
Yeah, we asked that. We asked them about like how they were deploying a player. Because we weren't sure based on the stats, and so we wanted a little more clarification to see if he fit. And they told us he told us he wasn't going to tell us anything about game plan.
Told you he wouldn't tell you?
College coach told us he wouldn't tell us.
That's weird. Was he in your conference?
He was not. He was in the SEC.
Oh, that's strange. I don't know.
I've asked when I drafted Mike Gradishar. Like after I drafted him, I asked Randy like how he used him because I wasn't sure I was doing it right the first year because he seemed to be like a ball hawk at the time and wasn't really getting many picks the first year. But I mean, obviously he's been pretty amazing since then.
I've never asked a college coach about a player because I don't want to reveal to other people where I'm looking at.
Yeah, I've never asked before I drafted them.
Well, what you usually do is you just ask a bunch of people about various players and plant some smokescreen stuff.
Yeah, we just ask about a lot of people to kind of where we want to position them on the big board.
Yeah,
so we've taken guys off the board before because the coach said, "Oh, he was really frustrating," or like I was never really sure, or I ran this offense, and I'm like, okay, that's not a fit for us at all.
If you list a bunch of things, nobody's gonna know where you're coming from. So, I mean, this isn't even something that you need to. That like I wouldn't be able to state, even if you know that I do that, it doesn't help you in any way.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
that's what I was surprised by. Oh, it doesn't matter.
Are the Lions still on the clock?
Yep. They got 5 minutes left. I think this is Tyrese Thompson.
I would agree.
They just traded Andre Brooks. They do not have youth, as far as I know.
They do have Griffin Perrin, who is an 80, but he's never, I think, played it down. So Tyrese Thompson
makes me think that they take Tyrese Thompson.
I think it's going to be either Thompson or Randall here.
Well, it does seem like James Jacobs is on, so that's good for them.
As is somewhat tradition, the O-line is falling. I guess there's no point in mentioning this again.
Is it really, though? We've had, what?
We only had 2 Tevin.
No, we had 3.
Cuellar and Chavez.
One of each.
Oh, and Noah Barney.
Yeah, Noah Barney.
Is that more or less than previous years? Sounds about the same, honestly.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was about the same. I think the surprise is more like the positions that are going in the top 10 and early rather than, yeah.
What are the biggest surprises so far other than, well, Culver to Atlanta is probably the biggest surprise.
Yeldon to Arizona.
Yeah.
And somewhat surprising is Justice to the Chargers.
Yeah, I think that's a good assessment. Oh, picks in. With the 14th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Kenyon Randall, running back, LSU. Chargers are now in the talk.
Go Tigers.
I really like that pick for them. I think he's like really. He didn't do that amazing in college. I believe he only had 1 year, maybe 2.
1 year. He was 1 year ago.
Well, McGill said he couldn't figure. He thinks that Randall's good, but I think he thinks he doesn't mesh with Alan Hollis.
Which is fine because Alan Hollis was terrible.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like talking?
Randall's pro day was pretty amazing compared to. I mean, it was like pretty much on par with Yeldon. So to get
when you looked at his pro day, it looked like he should have won the Heisman.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, this is the lowest ever an 83 has been drafted, I believe. So
he's 5'6", which
that's a problem.
Is kind of small, but Detroit, if they get their running game going and they have LeCount and they have okay receivers, they have a good O-line, their offense is going to be back. I think they had struggled this year with no running game and having to start Blake Shell most of the year, but I think they're going to be back to playoff contender in the NFC North. Now,
the Chargers are
that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the division because the Packers are still really good, and I actually think the Vikings are really an up-and-coming team there. But Slinky's a pretty fucking good coach, I think. So
I think the Lions win the Super Bowl this year.
Loins, please.
I have to be right eventually.
Yeah, I think Randall's really good, and he's got sky-high potential. I think his issues are just scheme specificity, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
you find the right thing to play him, and he'll be great.
I definitely agree. I think they need to figure out exactly what he's doing, and then it'll fit. Neo, I feel like we have weirdly similar scheme scouting styles because
apparently so.
Because we seem to agree on maybe it's just players that either went to LSU or went to one of your schools, but we've agreed on literally every single piece of information on those players, starting with Taylor Rodriguez and now Randall and several others.
All right, the Chargers are back on the clock. What do you guys?
Jarvis Ward.
I know they've been trying to trade back from here, so I expect them to take a lot of time.
They are trying to trade back?
I believe he mentioned that he wanted to trade back from 15. Yeah. So if they do trade, who would trade up? Because the Giants are the next pick, and they absolutely want a wide receiver.
I think you can see the Panthers move up to try and get David Sutton.
One team
because that offensive line desperately needs help, right now.
That's a good point.
Same for the Buccaneers, actually.
And I feel like the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks have been trying to move either up or down. 27 is a really awkward spot for them, and so I really am not surprised if they move.
Yeah, I can tell you guys from experience. It doesn't really matter what you give somebody. You're not trading from the 30s or late 20s into the top 15. No one wants to move that far unless you have multiple first-round picks.
But I think they can. I think they can move down, and it would be legitimately okay. They can move to the top of the second for another pick, and I think it would be acceptable. I think the end of the first round is kind of not great this year.
Apparently, I'm hearing the Titans and the Redskins are both trying to trade up.
I heard Broncos as well.
Broncos are trying to trade up since 2019.
The Broncos have been trying to trade up with every pick this round, from what I've heard. I don't really understand what they're doing.
They the interesting thing is that the Giants are next, and they absolutely need a receiver. So no receiver has been taken yet. So they're kind of like going to get a receiver no matter what. Because even if the Chargers take Ward, then they can just take Lattimore or vice versa. But I think the Giants actually kind of lost out by not managing to grab one of these quarterbacks. Because who are they going to start at quarterback now?
Apparently, the Titans have bowed out of trade talks to move.
Well, the Giants might. The Giants are out of the quarterback race for now, but they got early tomorrow. Don't they? They have a top pick early tomorrow, so.
No, they traded it to New Orleans.
We have that pick.
Oh, that's rough then.
Yeah, I don't think they pick again until the 3rd, if I remember correctly.
I don't know then. I didn't expect the quarterbacks to be taken this high, to be honest. I had Culver like late 1st or early 2nd.
I had Culver like as one of those picks, maybe at like 32 or 33. Yeah. Somebody tries to jump up
for the 50.
But when his pro day came out, I mean, the hype grew. It's to be fair, I do think he's pretty good. My opinion of him actually changed a lot over the process. So I guess.
Sorry, I had to interrupt you for the pick really quick. With the 15th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Jarvis Ward, wide receiver, Texas A&M. Giants are now on the clock.
So the Chargers have like cucked the Giants twice for wide receivers this offseason. Because I mean, the Giants had to want Ward, right?
I think the Giants are actually, unfortunately, in kind of a not great spot in this situation. In this point, there's not really any great need for them available.
I feel like Tyrese Thompson is the pick here, maybe.
The Bills were like, I want to trade back from 34 into the 1st round, and then immediately after this pick, they're like, never mind.
Oh, they wanted Ward.
Yeah, they must have wanted Ward. Yeah, I feel like Tyrese is probably the guy here for the Giants, unless maybe Lattimore's pretty good. Maybe they could go take him. I don't know that. I don't know. I think it's Tyrese Thompson.
I think Lattimore would be the best receiver on their team right away, just because of how trash the receivers are.
Probably true.
I mean, they've got Sonny Beckett, Tom Oldham, William Anderson, and Patrick Lambert as their top 4.
Those are all like rejects from other teams.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like does.
Yeah, I feel like Hagan really is interested in. From talking to him, I know he's places a premium on defense, and I feel like that's kind of probably going to translate a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted that hard-hitting leader of a linebacker.
Giants said that they had been actively trying to get Ryan Harris for most of the evening.
Actually, that's not really a surprise. So that does make sense.
Yeah, the Giants they traded Kenyatta Henderson too. So even though they got Kyrie Bryant, their defensive front isn't really that much improved.
To be fair, they did pick up Lewis Peterson. They traded Kenyatta Henderson, but they picked up Peterson and 16.
Yeah, that's true. I don't. It's still. I mean, Kenyatta Henderson's way better than Peterson.
Yeah, that's true, but Peterson's a lot younger and costs a lot less money.
Was this the Ravens pick originally?
Yes, this was the Ravens pick.
I don't know about a lot, but I think it's 2 years younger.
Yeah, he's not that much younger, I don't think.
But he costs a lot less. I'll say that for sure. Possible.
This feels like it has to be wide receiver if you're the Giants, though. I don't know where else they would really go with this pick, except for maybe center.
Yeah, they need offense for sure. Defense is shouldn't even be on the radar for them right now. Wide receiver, there's not really a running back worth taking here.
Chiefs are currently looking for a wide receiver to trade to them.
And there's not like a 6th year, 160-pound, 5'10" guy that they can just ship over there.
No. Based on some people that I've been talking to, it sounds like this pick is getting traded. There are
with Ward going out of there.
It sounds like a bidding war.
Ooh, interesting.
What would people be trading up for?
I have no idea. Thompson.
Well, the thing about Thompson is, even if Thompson goes, you do have Marcus Golden like right there behind him.
I actually like Golden more, I think, although they're very close.
I have him like 1A, 1B.
Yeah, they're super interchangeable. Kyle Will is the best offensive tackle available. Sutton, I think, is still probably a bit too high. Lattimore is, I think, actually excellent value at this point. I really like Lattimore. I actually like Lattimore better than Ward, but mostly for size reasons, because Ward is really small.
Right, yeah.
I think Ward, though, I think he's pretty comparable to mostly Bartos.
Yeah, it can be similar.
Like he jumps right out of the gym.
He's 5'9", but his vertical leap is like insanely high, and he's fast as hell, agile as hell. Like he's gonna get open, and you like even though he's 5'9", you can still toss it up to him in the end zone because he can jump up and get it
until he tears his ACL, and then his only skill's gone. Coming up after this, quickly to discuss while we're waiting, are the Patriots and the Browns, who both traded down, and then several bubble playoff teams like the Redskins, the Saints, and the Steelers. Steelers, I'm fairly sure, are taking a center. The other ones I do not know.
Yeah, I wonder if Denver is still trying to trade up. They have like, it's not even that far to trade up now, but maybe the guy they wanted to get taken already.
I think I don't know what the Broncos want, actually. They seem to not be stopping their attempts at trading up, even with picks going in. So I don't know do they just want anything?
I think they want a wide receiver, personally.
Well, they're running out of options very rapidly.
Well, there's only been one taken.
Well, I mean, if
Lattimore is the. I think there's a good chance that Morgan Patton or Juwan Howard both go in the first as well. Juwan Howard mostly because of his combine, and Patton looked pretty good in college as well.
I think Howard has some fans because of his consistency, but
I have some issues with both. Howard, mostly that he never really excelled. He was just kind of average, which may not be a bad thing, but even with his good combine, he never really destroyed any opponents, which worries me. Patton, I have an experience issue with because GRV did not run pass-heavy offenses the past 2 years, so he may be a bit underdeveloped and may need some time to get going.
Well, he did 2 years ago was his pass season when his passing game completely fell apart.
Picks in. With the 16th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Tevin Lattimore, wide receiver, Missouri. Patriots are now on the clock.
The other thing about Howard is that Franz is Denver's GM, and he's also the Georgia coach. So that's something to people like drafting their own players.
Lattimore is a really good pick for the Giants. They just don't have anyone to throw to him, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. They do seem like they're setting up around a quarterback before they invest in one, maybe.
Maybe they're gonna take a shot at with their third round pick. Maybe they'll try and take a shot at Dowden or Jordan North if he's still available.
I think knowing Dean, it's either going to be Dowden or like Will Chaco or something.
Stephen Gore. Dean's a pretty big fan of that guy.
I think.
Oh yeah, a lot of people have been liking him since the pro day.
I think Stephen Gore is good because he was like a volume. I mean, when I think of Stephen Gore, I think of like Case Keenum. He's like a big college volume passer that kind of underdeveloped a little bit, but I think he has potential in the future. The problem is that the last guy who I can think of who was like this was the dude the Bills took that I wanted like 4 years ago from I think San Jose State maybe? I don't know.
David Kaplan?
Yes, Kaplan. It feels very similar to me, and I don't know where Kaplan is now, and that says a lot.
What about R.J. Stanford? He was kind of like that in college too.
Well, Stanford just won a playoff game, didn't he? So.
No, he did not win a playoff.
But he made the
this
playoffs.
year. He did win a playoff game, throwing like 3 picks or something like that
Against Skaggs.
for the Giants. Yeah, but they won despite R.J. Stanford.
I mean, Stanford is not that bad. I think Stanford is similar to Taylor Rodriguez, where like it's just totally wrong scheme fit right now, and nobody really seems to. I mean, he's on the Cardinals now, so. But anyway, so the Giants got Kyrie Bryant, who was I think the best player in the draft. They got Tevin Lattimore to help fix that horrific receiving core, and they did sign Isaiah Pulsefoot in free agency to address the cornerback problem, and they traded for Sonny Beckett don't forget that as another wide receiver, and then they swapped Kenyatta for Lewis Peterson. So. There seems to be some shoring up of like the average skill of the team, but they definitely need help in other positions still. The quarterback thing is going to be a major problem because who even is their starter right now? I don't even know. Is it Mike Thomas
or Will Thompson?
Oh yeah, they signed him.
The
That's
corpse
true.
of Will Thompson.
At this point, Will Thompson is a good backup. And
I think he's a fine
that's
backup, but
pretty much it.
don't expect him to start the entire year. He's not going to make it. The dude's taken a lot of hits. Part of it is my fault because he was my quarterback when my average O-line was like 52 or something. So he got sacked a shitload in the first year. Oh, Cade wanted Tevin Lattimore, I guess. He's kind of upset.
He wants every good receiver he can get his hands on.
Yeah, he does. And then the funny thing is that like the the Panthers have only ever had like one good one.
Yeah, they weirdly do have like an actual, honest to goodness need at wide receiver behind Monte Jackson.
It's always been like that though. They've always had like these mediocre, like Eddie McFadden. There's like all these people that have come through. They swap them out like every 2 years, and they never do anything.
They don't need to address that in the first round, though. That's the thing.
That's
like,
No, but that's an organization that likes flash.
when you're the like picking in the late 20s, like I mean mid 20s for them, and I mean maybe it's the best pick at that point, but like they just drafted a wide receiver in the first and Curtis Henry in the first. So if they're gonna double up there, I don't think Skaggs needs like a number one wide receiver as the number 2. Like he's gonna be the third most targeted probably because Curtis Henry, regardless. So I think you wait till the second or third to pick up a receiver for them. So a lot of other areas they can address.
But by the way, I know a lot of you guys are down on this guy for whatever reason, but I think a great pick for the Patriots here would be Deshaun Dockery, who we haven't mentioned at all. I like what he did, especially with like somewhat lacking talent around him. I do have some questions about whether or not he can be the guy. I don't think it would be awful for the Patriots to take a shot with him, especially with what we discussed earlier, that their team is more or less just composed of average players and no real stars. I think something like that may not be a bad thing. Their O-line is good as well, so...
Somewhat lacking talent is very generous for what he played with at Louisville.
Yeah, he's
He
a
had
pretty
nothing.
polarizing prospect as a whole. Some people are real high on him. Some people are real down on him.
I played him in the bowl game in 2020, and I scouted the team at the time, and yeah, the team was a dumpster fire, and he did like somewhat amazing stuff with what he had.
He beat me in 2020 when I went to the playoffs. He had like 250 yards and like 80 receiving yards. He just absolutely tore me up all day long.
So I really wouldn't blame somebody for taking a shot on it. It may not be the best pick at this point, but if you have no other needs, I don't really know what you go here.
I think Dockery might, like, they still have, remember, New England still has another pick in the first. I think they might be able to get him there. Although Tennessee might take him.
Well, there's also Evan Grant.
Everyone seems to be really down on Evan Grant, and I still like him a lot. He had a really terrible combine, but
when the Giants GM was asked about what he's going to do at quarterback this year, he said, quote, "I still have time to wave my Dean magic," end quote.
That worked out well last year.
We have Robert Martin, if he wants him.
With the 17th overall pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select David Sutton, center, Louisiana Tech. Browns are now on the clock.
Carolina and Tampa's tiers are beginning to roll.
Yeah, that's not ideal for those.
And Steelers.
And Pittsburgh.
And Pittsburgh, who was really close.
I'm not so sure about that pick. I know their centers aren't great, but I felt they had other needs they could have addressed better here.
Did they, though? Like, I'm not fully sure what they... I feel like they just have needs everywhere and also nowhere at the same time. Like, they have a need at defensive tackle, which there is just nothing right now. It's Adcock, who I think is like a mid-second rounder at best. They have needs at defensive end, which there's not a lot going on. There's Miles Slater, also I think a second-round pick. They have need at outside linebacker, which they may have taken, and I think this is who I had in my mock, Evan Walsh. I had kind of around in this area, but I don't really blame somebody for not taking him because he's not super flashy. And I think that, well, they need a running back, which, as we just discussed, is also not the greatest situation if they can take one with their later first-round pick. So they could take an offensive line player here and then back up their pick with a running back later in the first, and I think it's legitimate. I mean, maybe we'll see. Depending on who they pick at the end of the first, this pick could look better or worse.
Yeah, I don't know that I blame them for taking David Sutton here, but that's not really where I thought they'd be going either. I know they're kind of in a lot of different places. I kind of thought they'd go after Golden or Thompson at this point. I think with the outside linebackers, I feel like they're moving to a 3-4 or trying to. So I don't think someone like Fletcher or Walsh or whatever would have made a lot of sense there.
I don't know. I think Fletcher could maybe fit a 3-4. Walsh, yeah, I think Walsh is pure 4-3 all the way.
Well, if you're Pittsburgh or Carolina, you need a center. New England will have an 81 available for trade soon, probably.
We have a quick soundbite from the Buccaneers general manager, quote, "Fade me," end quote.
Yeah, he's going to be looking to trade down now instead of up.
Picks in. With the 18th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Cleveland Browns select Morgan Patton, wide receiver, Penn State. The Redskins are now on the clock.
Well, now there's kind of a run on wide receivers. 3 in the last 4 picks. Yeah, I don't necessarily like it, but it's not terrible. They needed a good wide receiver too for the future, because, as everyone said, Ray Lee Marconi is pretty fucking old at this point.
They do have Dean Burkhardt, but I don't know how good Burkhardt really is.
I think he's terrible, to be honest.
Was he a second-round pick?
Yeah, I believe he was.
I actually forgot he existed.
Yeah, I think he's unhappy, and he has like a -1 locker room or something. Let me look.
Oh, we haven't even I didn't even think about like the locker room stuff yet. Did anybody take anybody who's like more or less toxic? It's not listed. Okay, for some reason it's not in the player lines that were uploaded by Inspiro.
Oh yeah, Burkhart is -2 locker room, and he's an 80 after his rookie year, and he's unhappy. So it's not exactly ideal.
Diva. Shitty diva. I'm really curious what the Redskins do here because I think they are like on the edge of becoming one of the better teams after lots of years of struggles.
I agree.
I think they take running back.
He keeps saying he's not going to draft running back here, but
It
is their biggest need. Now, if they actually don't take a running back, then I think they probably go linebacker, inside linebacker. So Tyrese Thompson or Golden are really good picks here for them.
The Cowboys wanted Patton, evidently.
Oh yeah, the Cowboys have a pretty desperate need at wide receiver. And
Or maybe they just
getting
want wide
kind of
receivers
thin.
in general. But regardless, Yellow Evan is freaking out.
They did just trade for Montgomery, but I don't think they have
Yeah, but they
anything
have nobody
else.
else. They got rid of their other guy. And Benjamin Franklin.
Didn't they trade Franklin in that trade with
Yeah,
They traded it
Kansas
up for
City?
Montgomery, yeah.
They're gonna get next year's JUCO wide receiver Aaron Burr. What's Booker T. Washington up to, by the way? Where is he?
I think
We have him.
Oh, you're still okay.
He would be available.
Oh,
Baltimore, I know you're listening.
poor guy. Oh, trade. The Tennessee Titans have traded up.
Shit.
I think the Saints are about to get sniped, and it's time for Neo's annual yelling.
No, no, it's not that. I'll explain after the pick.
Oh, okay. Oh, they wanted to trade with you, maybe?
Yeah, we had an agreement with them, and we were kind of hoping that, yeah.
Something has to make you yell this year, though. It's like a tradition.
Oh, I'm sure something somewhere will.
I don't know what the Titans want. A running back?
they desperately need one too.
Yeah, Deshaun Dockery here makes.
Still, like, I maintain the same thing I said with the Patriots, though, where, like, I feel like Dockery might be kind of early. But I guess if you're trying to jump other people who need one. How are there so many people who are, like, just outside the playoffs who need running backs? It's crazy.
That's why they're just outside the playoffs, probably.
Pick is in. With the 19th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Tyrese Thompson, inside linebacker, Auburn. Saints are now on the clock.
Interesting. They still need a running back, so I didn't know they needed a linebacker.
They didn't. They have Randy Humphries and Jackie Eaton, who are both older, but they're still mid to upper 80s players themselves. They're both Will, so maybe they're looking for a Mike replacement.
Oh, that's possible. But they play a 3-4, right? Yeah, they do. Neo is off air as he's making his pick, I believe. So when did the... can somebody look up the... I'll do it. The trade. The Redskins received the... Oh, that's a pretty good trade. The Titans traded their first, number 26, and their third, number 90, for number 19. So another pickup of a third-round pick.
Seems like first and a third is a going price to trade up right now.
It's weird that... But it should be... The price should be decreasing as it goes towards later in the round. So the Titans paid quite a lot, I think, for a later pick compared to what happened earlier.
Yeah, that's why we wanted that.
So Nollins is up now.
Well, we already know they're thinking of trading, so maybe they're entertaining more trade talks.
I mean, they could use a linebacker, but I don't think they take one here.
They definitely want a defensive end, but they don't want to draft from here. I know that.
They really need a third wide receiver. They've got nobody after Cotton Lewis.
I don't think that's a first round pick though. You can get somebody in second or third.
They're fine on the line, so they don't need that either. Maybe a running back, because Sterling Brown is ancient, and their backup's Marty Keisel. But really, outside of running back, linebacker, wide receiver, I don't see where they could really go here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think those are about the only spots, but the value for any of those positions, any of those styles that they want is probably a little too rich at 20. So yeah, that's why they're probably pretty big on moving down. And the way the board shaped up, especially since it seems like half the league was pissed when the Patriots took Sutton, is kind of like, well, it almost feels like there's no one that anyone wants to move up for.
The Tennessee Titans have listed Jackie Eaton on the trade block.
Not a surprise. I kind of figured. I kind of been mocking the Titans a lot inside linebacker. Well, up until this last one anyway, because I figured Eaton was getting old. They'd probably want a replacement. They probably wanted a true Mike to fit in that 3-4.
Did they just have like a bunch of coverage and will linebackers? That's weird.
Just to announce, number 21 from the Steelers and the Cowboys pick may both be available for trade down.
Something interesting that I haven't brought up, but I was wondering if somebody would draft for this. I don't know if any of you guys have considered this, but with some of the new options on the depth chart, like bandit linebacker and such, I wonder if anybody's drafting considering those, or maybe in the later rounds somebody will.
I think we'll start seeing that consideration come into like the third or fourth round, where kind of specialist players start going.
There's a lot more flexibility on the depth chart now, so you can kind of customize the lineup however you see fit. So I feel like there's a lot more stuff like this might happen where people take people in positions that they already have strength at just to swap their lineup around a bit.
I don't think it like you ever confirmed for people that was also going to be an NFLHC. I think some people were asking about that.
Isn't it only NFL? Hold on. Wait, I'm confused.
I thought you posted that for college.
Hold on, let me look.
Maybe I'm
No, I've confused
thinking
myself
the
now.
opposite way.
Too much stuff going on.
Jets also looking to trade down from number 28.
Oh yeah, it's posted as CFBHC. It should be both. It's NFL as well. The depth charts have been the same all throughout for all of them, so yeah, it's the same. So everybody's trying to move down now, apparently?
Yeah, about half the teams in the 20s. The Saints, Steelers, Cowboys, and Jets have all announced they want to.
Damn. This is kind of a black hole of players. There's some, I think Kyle Will is fairly good. I don't know why anybody wants him. Marcus Golden also, and Manny Ferguson, the tight end.
And I think DJ Franklin I throw in there too.
If Marcus Golden could play Will linebacker, he would already be a Saint.
So I think Kyle Will should be going here in the next couple picks, and then probably Marcus Golden. I have 5 more players with first-round grades, which I tend to normalize. When I do my draft board, I normalize it usually to 15 to 25 first-round grades, and this year was the most I've had in a while. Oh, also, we can start hyping up Tre'Davious Dykes at some point is happening, I'm sure. I know the Rams were a popular target.
I think the Rams are a popular target just because no one's really sure where they should go, and they use man corners. I don't know. I feel like the Dykes got really hyped up, but I feel like people are afraid he's Aaron Styles, I'll be honest. Correct.
I think Denver might take a chance on Dykes. It's Bingo's player.
They wasted a cornerback pick on Mitchell 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Who did they? Oh, they took Deontay Davis last year. He was good. There's actually a couple interesting picks coming up. The Panthers at 25 is interesting to me. I would assume right now it's one of these upcoming picks is Javon Hargrove, but I don't know if taking him in the first round is something some of these teams want to do. Wow, we broke the record for draft viewership this year in the first round with a record of 51.
That seems a tad low, actually. 51. We have way more than that involved, don't we?
I don't know. It's always 51 seems to be the typical thing. The average usually is 30 to 40 for the first round. It actually gets higher later in the rounds for some reason. I think people just, when it gets ridiculous, is when people like to listen. The Raiders traded up. Oh, that's why you guys were both silent.
Yep.
With the 20th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Super Bowl champion Las Vegas Raiders, mind you, select Kyle Will, offensive tackle, Michigan. Steelers are now on the clock.
I think it's a really good pick for them.
I lost my left tackle that I've had since the first year to retirement, and I really needed somebody who I know can start right away, and it's going to be a force for a long time, and I think this guy is going to be that guy. I did draft a tackle in second last year, and he was pretty good, but I think he's still kind of developing. He's probably going to start still, but yeah, I like my O-line for the future now. I still need guards, but there's not really a whole lot there at the rest of the first round, basically.
I'm surprised this guy lasted this long.
Me too.
Yeah, honestly, he's too good. If we hadn't managed to trade the pick, we probably would have just taken him for best player available. I don't know.
DJ Franklin is also still available, who I have rated similarly. But
yeah, Franklin's good, but he, people are worried about FCS.
Right, which is valid, but I think offensive, I don't know. For O-line, I usually don't worry as much about.
That's fair. And his size is absurdly great.
So Pittsburgh's on the clock now. I think only real need that they could really address is center with Javon Hargrove. But that seems a little too high.
Just for you guys, to update you guys, the Raiders gave up number 32 in their third rounder. So it seems like giving up your third rounder is the thing right now.
Yeah, we had an offer that was probably slightly better value-wise, but we didn't want to trade down quite as far as the other offer did. That's why it took a little longer. We had we had three teams hitting us. Alien hit us first, and then had some other options, and we kind of went back and forth with them. And then at the last second, right when we were about to agree to Alien, somebody else jumped in, and then we kind of said, no, we'll stay
okay.
first.
Makes sense. I think the Broncos might actually be upset at this because I believe they were looking for an offensive tackle.
I mean, DJ Franklin's pretty beast mode.
True, but I think they wanted Will, maybe.
Well, they still have Gary Tomlinson and Mario Hill are 93 and 88, so I don't really know. They need to take a tackle in the first round.
But those guys are both fairly old, I think.
I think Hill's about
6 years.
Fourth year, I think.
Okay, well, I don't actually know Hill that well, so can't say much.
Yeah, I still have a third too, so I had 2 thirds, so I wasn't.
Do you have a second?
Yes.
Where'd you get the other third
from? Wait, do I have a? Yeah, I think I have Buffalo's third.
What? From what?
Oh wait. Yeah, I have Buffalo's third from
Matt Thomas.
Matt Thomas. It's a good pick for that. Was a good trade for me because the conditions they met it to move all the way up to a third because he was just like getting lots of targets in Buffalo last year.
Oh wow, yeah. So you ended up okay. That's not bad. Wait, which pick did you give the Saints? The last pick in the
Yeah, the last pick in the third round.
Oh wow, that's a good trade. Steelers are halfway through their pick, and I'm going to take a bathroom break really quick if the pick is in.
I think Steelers are looking for a trade partner still, but I don't know what they're going to really find for a trade partner with what's left on the board.
Yeah, I mean, DJ Franklin is worthy of a pick here, but I don't really know who feels the need to move up to get him right now.
A lot of the tackles kind of drop off though after him, I think. So
yeah, there's a step down. There's a couple of 80s, but Franklin's definitely a step above them.
Pittsburgh has 5 minutes left on the clock.
I know Dallas is looking for like a right tackle.
Dallas could be looking for a right tackle / left tackle of the future. Franklin would be a great fit there if he makes it.
Yeah, I'm sure Pittsburgh is like trying to move around too.
Oh yeah, the Saints have back-to-back picks at the end of the first and the beginning of the second.
Correctamundo.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we like that spot.
I believe that is the first time that has ever happened. I'm really curious what some of these upcoming teams do. Oh, the Redskins pick again? Oh, they traded down. That's right.
Yeah, they dropped down.
Yeah.
I think if the Giants hadn't taken Lattimore, Washington might have tried to move up for him.
I think the Cowboys also. So I don't know what the Broncos do here. They don't. I think Manny Ferguson might be the best available player, but they don't need a tight end. They don't need a center. They don't need a linebacker.
They need outside linebacker, and not a single one has been taken yet.
There's Evan Walsh and Jabari Fletcher from Texas.
I feel like Walsh might be the play for Denver. They could also use a receiver, but
There's
at this point.
Juwan Howard, but I think he's like mid-second.
Yeah, I don't look at him as a first-round pick.
Yeah, and that might be why Pittsburgh's having a hard time moving down. The only ones who might want to move up for that tackle could be Dallas, and it's pretty obvious that Denver's probably not going to take it. So there's no reason for Dallas to move up from 23. And Green Bay maybe could use DJ Franklin, but I don't know if Inspiro would want to move all the way up for that.
By the way, I should just mention this because since we're on the broadcast, make sure on your cap sheets that you have the correct cap number for the rookies because some of them changed this year, especially the first and second round picks. So just make sure you get that right. You don't want to have any issues down the road when we're checking that stuff.
Sorry. Talking about the Steelers are running out of time here. They got like a minute and a half left. So the Steelers signed Brookshire in the offseason, which was kind of a storyline. They have needs at wide receiver. They have needs at cornerback, and I think D-line and general seems to be a problem.
Yeah, outside of Carlos Washington, Quentin Smith is
he's good, but he's old, so
and super expensive.
and he's well, I guess he's a one gap. For some reason, I thought he was a two gap.
Yeah, their opposite DE defensive end for Carlos is really fucking bad.
I guess it's Culver out of Florida.
I like their. I mean, I don't like their wide receivers either. So there's not really anyone. The only one that I would still draft in the first is maybe Howard, but I don't know if they want to. Because they did get Brookshire, remember? They might want to give him a new weapon, shiny new toy, but.
So, well, I mean, the one thing is Jake Schmidt is happy, but he's a good tight end, but he's in his 7th year. So.
What? Are the Steelers on? Because they're about to run out of time. 15 seconds.
Yeah, they announced that they're looking to trade down, so they're around. Must not have found someone.
Broncos are saying the interface is broken.
As is tradition, I suppose. Saying it, not necessarily being broken.
Yeah, there's a trade.
Up, though.
Yeah, trade.
Did Pittsburgh get a draft password? Because I don't know if they actually asked for one.
There's the same trade posted twice. They may not know their password. Tampa Bay is moving up with a 5th round pick, moving up 6 spots. This will be, if this goes through, this will be Javon Hargrove, I'm sure.
That's a pretty good deal. Move up 5 spots in the first for a 5th rounder.
Pittsburgh has been skipped, so the Broncos are now on the clock.
Especially considering what else trades we've seen, where everyone's given a 3rd. To only have to give up a 5th now, I think is pretty good value.
Broncos and Steelers are on the clock.
That's kind of funny, really, because last year, if I remember correctly, a lot of the trades that went on right about this time, it was a lot of teams moving up 3 and 4 spots for a 5th, rather than the 3rds that we've been seeing up until now.
All right. Well, apparently the
I don't know.
They do have a password. Maybe is it not working? What's going on?
Password's not working on the interface.
Tuscan says they have a password. They're working on the situation. Broncos, you're welcome to jump at any moment. I don't think they need a center anyway, so I don't really think this messes anything.
Yeah, they have one of the better centers in the league.
Yeah, I'd be surprised that they go anywhere but outside linebacker, to be honest.
Pittsburgh saying the interface is holding up the trade to go through. This is what let them confirm. That could be holding them up.
Message me on Discord, Tuscan.
Buccaneers are criticizing the interface. Pick is in with the 21st pick, I guess, because they skipped the Steelers. 2022 NFL Draft. The Denver Broncos select Evan Walsh, outside linebacker, Nevada. Cowboys and Steelers are now on the clock.
I think that's about one of the most obvious picks we've had since the Vikings taking Sebastian Smallwood. I think everyone has pretty much mocked the Broncos and outside linebacker, but for good reason. I mean, they've got a lot of Jags there, and that's a good pick.
Yeah, their highest rated linebacker is Jill Palmer, who's an 80, about to enter his 7th season. So they really needed some youth and talent there.
Yeah, so somebody next to Cameron Jonah.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. I don't think it's very flashy, but I think it's necessary.
Yeah, not exactly a pass rusher, but I don't think that'll matter in their defense.
The New York Jets are threatening the New Orleans Saints that if they don't trade, the Jets will take Alexander Burton at 28 overall.
How are the Steelers having so much trouble with this?
I don't know, but they don't message me, so I don't know what to do.
Are they actually serious about that, Jets? Come on.
I legitimately don't know what the problem is. Like, I mean, you can pick with the 22nd pick of the 2022 NFL Draft. The Dallas Cowboys select DJ Franklin, offensive tackle, Montana.
And another pretty obvious pick. Great value. He can be their right tackle right now.
Wait, did they really?
And then
what happened to their old?
Well, they traded him. I think they traded an offensive lineman, didn't they?
I think they're starting to get older. Right now, the right tackle is Giovanni Garrison, who's an 80 in his fourth year. So I think TJ Franklin, like Neo said, steps in right away at that position and starts.
Yeah, I don't know what to say, Bucks. It's not your fault. It's Pittsburgh's. They keep fucking up.
I mean, this isn't a problem with the interface. Like, there's no issue with. It's not that hard to use. They've had 15 minutes and they haven't figured it out yet. And they're not contacting anybody who can help them. In Spiral. It literally works for everyone else.
Ravis Newman, hurry up and fuck us, Franzi.
With the 23rd pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Marcus Golden, inside linebacker, Ole Miss. Panthers are now on the clock.
I don't care if the Rams need an inside linebacker or don't need an inside linebacker. That's one of the best picks of the first round. That's insane value here.
Well,
if we literally, I mean, we just took a Mike inside linebacker last year, and his pro was very explicit. He is not versatile. He has to be the Mike. And I think he's going to be a great one. I mean, that defense is about to get friggin' organized.
If you need an inside linebacker, the Rams will have one for trade soon, probably. They got Tom Henderson, who's a Will, and Daniel Watkins, who's a Mike. Both mid to upper 80s.
And I believe the Buccaneers are going to get fucked because the Panthers are going to take the center.
Poor Bucks, kind of.
With the 24th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Javon Hargrove, center, Houston.
At this point, the Bucs should just pick their own pick and just not worry about this trade.
I feel like the trade should be invalidated or something.
Yeah, at this point, I mean,
not their fault, but
they finally messaged me, but that's after like 3 picks already went through. So
Redskins are now on the clock, by the way.
They should just honestly pick whoever they fucking wanted originally, because
I think it's a problem with the Bucs. They didn't really know what they wanted originally. So we have technically Pittsburgh and Washington on the clock right now.
We're good. This is going to be the fastest first round we've ever had, and it's not even close.
Well, the trade went through now, so Tampa Bay is on the clock.
Tampa's on the clock. So they moved up. Well, they still.
They gave up picks for basically nothing.
Yeah, they're ahead one spot.
They're ahead one spot unless the Redskins skip them now.
That's pretty crappy.
I think if the Redskins skip them, we should just invalidate that trade.
I think we should probably invalidate the trade. Yeah, or I say we, but
picks in
the league
skipped them, so just invalidate it. With the 26th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Tre'Davious Dykes, cornerback, Oregon. The Steelers and Buccaneers are now on the clock.
All right, so in Spiral, can you like invalidate that trade on the interface? I'm not sure how that works, but
I mean, they're both picking now essentially, so it doesn't make
right. But Pittsburgh gave up, or they got picks from Tampa Bay.
Oh well, they
so
can. I'm sure
that.
Spiral can reset it over tonight. It doesn't have to happen right now.
So on the Dykes pick, the Washington definitely needed a cornerback, but I really don't know how I feel about Dykes in the first round.
Yeah,
I like Dykes. I think it's a good pick. He did have a 4 interception game in college. Granted, it was against Stephen Gore and
it was
that
against
guard.
the fucking Darius Waters was the guy who was covering.
That's true, but I mean, what does that tell you about Stephen Gore to throw it to him?
I'm pretty sure I could take 4 picks off of Darius Waters. What even is he?
That's a good question. I'm a Dykes fan. He was our early target when we were looking at multiple picks, like in the mid-second, and we kind of thought that's a good spot for him. We liked him early on, but got really hyped up, and we didn't feel comfortable with him at 20. So
honestly, I love Dykes.
Really?
What?
Honestly, so did I. And there probably was no realistic way for me to go get him. But if he had stuck around until like the high 20s, early 30s, I probably would have moved into the first for him.
So Buccaneers were trying to trade up to take Dykes. There you go.
That's who they wanted?
That baffles me too, actually.
Huh, okay, well, Rabbit did say something the other day about not thinking too highly of the third center, so.
I don't know what the situation is right now. Tampa, so that was the 25th pick, so this is all fucked up now. So 26 is, so if the trade's invalidated, 26 is Pitt right now, and 27 is Tampa, but they can each pick in front of the other one. This is all backwards, holy shit. I'm confused. No, if the trade's invalidated, technically Pittsburgh has to pick now, and Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pitt is already used like half their time on this next pick.
Yeah, what does Pittsburgh even pick right now?
Can somebody send these people a life raft?
I just told them.
Pittsburgh, I think here. Well, Pittsburgh didn't get fucked out of this. This fucked the Buccaneers more than anybody. I think Pittsburgh can go. Oh, I don't know actually.
I mean, they could use another defensive tackle, but I think it's a bit too soon for Adcock.
I don't really like any. Oh, maybe. Damn, I don't know. They have Schmidt, right? Is their tight end?
Yes.
I don't know.
But he's starting to get up there a little bit.
Yeah, he's in his 7th year.
Can I start hyping up Cameron Bowden?
Dude, I love Cameron Bowden. So good. No bias.
He is good, though.
I mean, he could be probably an improvement on T.J. Lawrence, who they've got at free safety right now.
Yeah, I would not hate that pick here.
I feel like Dykes jumped from like projected like around 60 to 26 in like 3 days.
That is 100% accurate.
Absolute combine warrior, pro day warrior. That's all he is to me right now.
That's kind of legit.
Maybe, but I was looking at him at 32 originally, but then I took him off my board because I knew he'd be gone before I picked. Although I traded up, so I could have taken him, but I ended up going somewhere else, obviously. I really didn't expect Kyle Will to fall that far.
Is no one gonna pick?
The Steelers
Well,
are on the clock.
If we didn't just see what we saw from the last 20, 30 minutes, I would have suggested Pittsburgh trade down, but we saw how well that worked last time.
Just for posterity here, the Steelers have been on the clock for 27 minutes. Pittsburgh pick is in. With the 27th pick, 2022 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Juwan Howard, wide receiver, Georgia. The Buccaneers and Jets are now on the clock.
It's early. But it's a positional need. I mean, he's at least consistent. He's been really ridiculously consistent. Never, as Selena said earlier, never like a dominant performance against pretty much anybody. But I mean, he was going to give you like between 60 and 80 yards a game, like pretty much every time, no matter who he went up against. Which I guess there's some value in that, but.
Yeah, last 2 years he barely got over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns both seasons. So I mean, even his season-to-season stats are really like fairly similar.
Georgia's never really had a great quarterback though, right?
They have Burkett's pretty good.
Yeah, they've always really focused on the run, but I think especially this past season they didn't have as good of a running back, but still Howard.
The thing that worries me about Howard is that it shows like no progression. Like there's no change at all. I mean, maybe he's just consistent all the way throughout with no, like he doesn't excel. Maybe he doesn't get, I don't know what his problem is. I have to read his pro day, but maybe he doesn't get separation all the time or something. But he's good at catching it. But he doesn't grow. He hasn't excelled with like higher skill.
As a junior, he got about 91 yards a game. As a senior, he got about 85 yards. So a slight reduction.
But that's with an error.
But
just from opponents and stuff. I mean, it's going to change by default.
And a freshman quarterback.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, Buccaneers should be picking here.
Yeah, if the Jets, they really should hold back on their pick until the Bucs pick because they shouldn't be like on the clock at this point. It's the Pittsburgh that screwed up.
I wish I could pause the clock, but I only have stopping it.
So, Tampa Bay, I mean, what do they even take here?
They really need a defensive end, I think, right?
Yeah.
They could use one, yeah.
They need, center's gone now, essentially. Unless they take Riley McDonough.
Remedy said he wouldn't.
Cameron Bowden? Question mark?
I mean, they've got Blakely.
That'd be the second first-round pick they spent on a free safety in like 2 drafts, 3 drafts.
But Blakely's terrible, so... Or at least not good.
I mean, they only have 2 inside linebackers on the roster, and the top one's a guy I don't think anyone likes, and Chris Clayton. They could take a guy here, like Adam Lovelace, maybe.
All these, I forgot about all these, the mid-level linebackers.
Didn't they trade for Brooks, though?
Oh,
Brooks.
Yeah, Andre Brooks, yeah.
Oh, he's not on their team page.
They just traded for him, like, a couple days ago.
A lot of people don't have updated team pages, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, when people want you to mock or talk about their team and you don't know who's on it.
Does anybody, do the Buccaneers know that they're going?
Yeah, I think they just are trying to figure out who they want.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough spot.
The Steelers said that the password they were given did not work the first 20 times, and then all of a sudden worked.
So then why didn't they ask me to, look into it after the second time instead of waiting 20 times?
Texan, With the 27th overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Omar Adcock, defensive tackle, Fresno State. Jets are now on the clock.
All things considered, I don't think that's a bad pick.
I don't like that pick. I don't like Adcock very much at all.
I don't really like Adcock either, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't love Adcock, but I don't really feel like they had a ton of good options here.
They were toying with the idea in the shop box of like trading up for Shamar Ware and like doing like a double 2-gap 4-3, but I guess they want to move to a 4-3. So
I've actually
this is
been
their guy to do that.
I've been using Adcock kind of as a joke with Jumbo for like the past 2 weeks, pestering him to take him because I don't like him. So I don't know what I unfortunately don't know what to say here. I did not like Adcock that much. To be fair, I didn't fully scout him. I don't really know much about him except I didn't like his pro day combine.
One of the things about Adcock is he was on Fresno State, which is it's weird that Fresno State has 2 first-round picks because they were not very good last year.
That is strange. What the hell?
Fresno State, I played them. Their defense was a complete disaster, like at every level. Adcock was like the only good player on that defense, so maybe he's better than he seems because of that. But I mean, he's a defensive tackle, so they don't usually make a ton of stat sheets. But if the rest of the defense is really bad, maybe they should be making more stat sheets. I don't know.
Yeah, Adcock only had 16 tackles all season. 5. I would like to see more that talented on defense that bad.
Yeah. We got 5 more picks here. The Jets need lots of things. I think the years have taken their toll kind of on the Jets roster. Their offense has kind of fallen apart. Their defense was weirdly terrible last year.
Yeah, I would look for them to maybe look at Deshaun Dockery or Evan Grant here.
I feel like the Jets have like 5 mediocre running backs that all fill like a particular role, but none of them do everything.
Yeah, I think the thing with them is they really want to get back to a really balanced offense because that's when Uyghur has been really his best. And they don't really need O-line, and that's like the best value still, I think. Their receivers are mostly off the board. They don't need a tight end, and that's like one of the best position values right now, I think.
In Spiral, it's a computer. It doesn't just magically start working. In Spiral and the interface is my yearly favorite love story. Jets have 2 minutes left. Who's everybody's favorite player who's available currently that they really like but don't really care? Like, don't give away your team stuff, obviously, if you're about to pick, but who's somebody that you really like that your team necessarily doesn't need?
Adam Lovelace.
Linebacker?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of his.
His combine looks okay. It's a little his wonder looks really high. It's crazy.
Yeah, I like my inside linebacker smart.
I really like Manny Ferguson.
Yeah, Manny Ferguson and Roll are both pretty good.
Roll feels like other guy drafted from Georgia Tech, Kendall Brandon, like years ago. So after the Jets pick, we have the Packers, and Spiral gets to go. And the Patriots again. Is this their second pick?
Yeah,
Yes.
But they've been on the clock 3 times. Well, twice already because they traded back.
Then the Eagles, who I believe are not here, and then the Saints to close us out on day 1. Coming back to the Jets, they lost Bob Ballard and did not replace him, but they did re-sign Uyghur. So
They have a DT on their roster who's pretty good still.
Kyle Pratt.
Yeah, Kyle Pratt. He's like decent.
is he from Virginia?
My boy.
I guess so.
First 5.0 ever recruited.
Oh wow, really?
I got him luckily.
What year was that? Like 2015, 16?
I think 2015. He was like the only good player got that draft. Recruit class. I got him because no one else put a visit on him.
I don't even remember what recruiting was like at the time. Was it still the 4-round system?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
When did that end? Like 2016?
Yes, the days when Arizona was part of the Texas subregion.
Oh my god, those recruiting things were so ridiculous.
That was awesome, man.
There's so much salt.
That was the best. Back when it was basically like me and Sverak at Houston, like fighting over.
I don't even know who that is.
It's like the original Houston coach. It's been a long time.
Is it Tuscan the original? Oh, maybe not. Oh, picks in. With the 28th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Adam Lovelace, inside linebacker, Vanderbilt. Ah, yes, the annual. We mention a guy that immediately gets chosen.
You're welcome, Jets. I like the pick because I like the player. I mean, they have Chris. What did they lose? Chris Tucker?
No, they still have him.
They still have Chris Tucker. Yeah, that's what I was looking at, but I couldn't remember if. And he's happy, but now he's got a running mate, I suppose.
I mean, I don't know what kind of scheme they're going to run because they have 2 blitz defensive ends, so they can try and run a 3-4 with those guys since they don't really have a second defensive tackle.
That doesn't seem very wide. I mean, they got what? Kyle Pratt's one gap.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they got Russell Brand, but he's a 76. It's hard to see him really stepping in and filling any sort of role with them.
Yeah, not really sure what scheme they're gonna. Well, maybe they're just not done. There's plenty of time to still make moves.
Don't they have Chris Tucker? I don't.
Yeah, I didn't really look at these ILBs at all because they're all mics, and I have a really good mic.
Next highest rated one gap defensive tackle is Luca Bragg at 76 overall. So
Jesus.
Not much room for them to do anything with.
Oh, who's the? Oh, Marlon Bailey is the. That dude's humongous. 6'7", 322. Thick.
Yeah, that is a large human.
He did lose a point during the scouting updates, though.
Oh my God, Rashad.
So I think it's just gonna.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say Rashad Malcolm is an inch shorter but 5 pounds heavier, also thick.
The thing is, Malcolm's a 2 gap, so you would think maybe he'd work better in a 3-4, but
They're both 2 gaps.
I moved to a 3-4, and he did much worse.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, there's also Tawa Mawia, the Auburn early deck.
Thick boy.
Wow, actually, Malcolm's combine is like better than Bailey's. Although his 40-yard is faster, but his cone is like worse, way worse. He doesn't have agility, I guess. He's just
My offensive tackle that retired was like 6'2", like 360 or something like that.
holy shit.
He might have been 6. He might have been taller, but he was 360 pounds.
Jumbo says Lovelace will be on the bench this year.
Do they just not want to pay Tucker when his rookie contract runs out?
I mean, they did just give Weger $800 million, so...
Yeah, you got to cut cap somewhere. That's true. And I mean, hey,
I just conducted an interview with the Jets general manager, and I said, Jets and underwhelming picks name a more iconic duo, and he said, you and being rude.
that's
Is Philly up now?
No, it's the Packers. Packers, then Eagles, then Saints. I'm already excited for the top of tomorrow's first or the second round. There's a lot of interesting stuff going to happen there. We got Saints, Chargers, Bills, Bengals, Cardinals, Texans, Jaguars, Seahawks, 49ers, Vikings. Lots of trades in this area. I wonder how many trades there were in the first round today. It didn't feel like... I guess it was probably quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, we did have a couple trades before the draft even started, so... Green Bay is still on the clock. Green Bay is a team without very many needs.
Yeah, when I looked at, they need backups mostly.
They need a defensive tackle.
There's not really one.
Do they?
I think it's worth a first-round pick. They just drafted a outside linebacker last year in the first, but they still need another one. And I think they could go for a running back, but I don't know if they.
Durant.
I know he did get injured last year though, and they were kind of fucked without him. I mean, they did make it to the fucking.
I don't know if it's worth taking a running back though.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe a second round is better, but.
What they kind of need receiver.
Yeah, they could replace Tom Grant. He's kind of old.
Yeah, I don't. The problem is, who do you really take? It's Marcus Holmes, Mike Miller, who's completely unknown. I don't really know what. This is kind of a bad spot, actually. I mean, it's the bottom of the first. What do you expect, really?
They could try and take Bernard Taylor's successor, Ferguson.
That would be an okay pick, I think. Or Jameer Roll, actually. Either one. Roll's a little faster, but Ferguson seems to be more of a target.
They had the exact same pro day grades from the scouts.
But at the combine, Roll had a faster 40, slower cone,
Yeah.
slower shuttle, so he's got more baseline speed.
Ferguson had a much better vertical, though, and
that's what I'm saying. He's like a target.
Taller.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Imposter here. I'm kind of shocked that Brooks, the linebacker, is falling. I feel like the fact that he played for Charlotte should actually be a positive because he was. Well, maybe people are thinking that he got a lot of tackles because the defense was so bad, but he did other stuff other than tackles.
I mean, he only had 48 tackles last season, but he did get a pick and 8 tackles for loss as an inside linebacker.
That's pretty good. It's not the greatest thing, but his defense was like one of the worst.
But he did only make 6 stat sheets.
So
the problem is
for Green Bay, could this be Bowden here?
No, I don't think so.
But they have Donovan Falk, who's not highly rated. He might be leaving his rookie contract soon, so they could look to replace him now. But I don't know if they would really go for that.
In Spiral, if you have problems with the interface, you should contact yourself.
If anyone needs a free safety and they don't want to draft one, I have one available.
I mean, this is like literally, I think, one of the only draftable free safeties that can start. There's like Tyler Patino looks a little interesting, the guy from Illinois, and then Seth Scott has done the obvious of the opposite of Dykes. He went from a top 10 projected pick on Bubata's thing last year to he's not even going to go in the first round anymore. He had a ridiculous amount of interceptions last year, and then I think he only had 1 this previous year.
That's Seth Scott.
Yeah, he had 10 as a junior, only 1 last season. So
he also has his readiness rating tanked his opinion of people at his pro day, people's opinion of him.
Yeah, so I don't know about that one. And then the highest rated is actually Khalil Dennis from Vanderbilt, who I know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, he's also another one that like he's real similar to Scott in his pro day grades. His readiness is like it's like 5.7 or something. It's pretty terrible. So people are it's just a guy who probably needs to sit. Like he's got talent, but
with the 29th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Manny Ferguson, tight end, Boston College. Patriots are now on the clock.
I think it's a pretty good pick.
Yes, sir.
Probably the best available guy.
Yeah, that's a future pick. And a second tight end does see a decent amount of targets if you run the right offense. I mean, I have on my team, like, my second tight end was like at 75 or something like that, and he had like 4 or 5 touchdowns last year. So Manny Ferguson backing up Bernard Taylor. I think he could make an impact even if he's not necessarily the guy this year.
Oh, little fix to what Clem was saying earlier. You were reading Soldier Brooks' stats, not Kyron Brooks. The Brooks from Charlotte had 65 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 3 fumbles forced, made 11 stat sheets.
Oh, my bad. I just read the Ron Brooks out of the stat book then. Sorry, guys.
So that's actually quite a bit better.
So interesting thing about the Packers, they've got so they just took Ferguson. They've got obviously Bernard Taylor. We've talked about Luke Graff behind Taylor. It's a third-year man. He's an 80 receiving tight end.
He was Nebraska's tight end the year they made the national championship, right?
Yeah. That was the guy.
I actually I forgot he existed. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Until I saw him on this. So he was kind of the second guy behind Taylor. Now Ferguson comes in. Ferguson's definitely more talented, so we'll have to see. That's a pretty deep tight end group at the moment.
What's his overall, the Graf guy?
He's just 80, but he's going to his third year.
He's probably an okay backup or like a second tight end.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So somebody might trade for him maybe. Patriots, for like the 5th time today, they gained Reggie Watkins in a re-signing and Sean Cole, which was an interesting pickup in the offseason, and they selected... Who did they select earlier? I don't even remember.
They took a center.
David Sutton.
Yeah, everybody thought they were going to take a running back, and they took Sutton.
Oh, this might be
Dockery here.
Yeah, I think this is Dockery then. This actually seems like a very good
It
fit.
could also be Davenport.
The outside linebacker?
Yeah.
They need one pretty badly.
I could definitely see Davenport here. I think they've been mocked that a few times.
They also might try Miles Slater. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's like the last really decent DE, and their DEs are like one of the worst position groups in the entire NFL, I think.
Depends on what you mean by decent.
What might be of note here is that the Patriots actually pick again tomorrow at 44, so they're not actually completely out of it if they choose one over the other here. They still have a top pick tomorrow. They don't need a strong safety because we have... Is Shaq Turner not... I didn't scout this guy.
He had horrible stats and awful pro day and combine.
Well, he's in like the worst conference in football, so...
I thought he would do more since, again, he was probably arguably the best player in the conference.
His pro day doesn't
go on paper.
I don't know about his pro day, but his combine doesn't look that terrible. He had the best vertical of all safeties.
We barely scouted him, to be honest.
I think you got to remember that the other safeties are pretty bad too. So I think compared to I think Bubata did like a comparison of like how bad these safeties are, and it was like compared to previous years' combines, and it was really bad.
I mean, I've never even heard it. Like, Eddie Burks, Kevin Faulkner, Brandon Brinkley, Burrows, Xavier Smith. No idea. I can't believe we only had 2 running backs go in the first round. That shocks me more than anything.
Well, there's still a couple picks here. We know the Eagles are not going to take one, but New Orleans could because they need a future running back. They tried to go after Dest, remember?
What position got taken the most? Wide receiver? There's 4. Defensive end 4 as well. Centers, 3 centers.
3 inside linebackers.
3 quarterbacks.
Only 2 quarterbacks.
4 defensive ends.
It's 4. It's defensive end and wide receiver at 4.
Yeah, that's the Spiral saying it was a hard pick because anything he wanted wasn't really a BPA for his pick, and that's what you get for being good is you draft at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what happens.
You miss out on those top talents most of the time.
And Spiral said Graf has gone +2, +2, +2, so that's pretty good. And Proletariat saying Dockery is underrated and will carry the team that takes him.
Yeah, I really feel like this is probably going to be Davenport.
Also, guys, you should post your opinions on the picks in those threads for future posterity. I'm going to go through them when I'm done.
Yeah, I think I'll take them from there.
We made like graphics for each player with some stats and information and stuff. So Jumbo says he's having some internet trouble, so he'll wrap them up tomorrow probably. But
yeah, definitely looking forward to checking those out. I really like how immersive the draft is becoming. I mean, this year y'all have gone out of your way to do a great job, and I think Pump had a little shout out earlier to the production team and InSpiral and you guys and Jumbo for his sort of new role.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who helped because it doesn't look like, I mean, we're not like the greatest with like graphics and stuff like that, but it's like it takes a lot of work and coordination between like several people. And I'm surprised like how little trouble we have between like Alien setting it up, me running it, InSpiral running the interface, Jumbo doing backroom wiki stuff and posting and such, and everybody coming on for interviews and the crew talking. It's a lot of stuff to coordinate, especially when people are busy.
Definitely nice synergy, I think, between everything
Picks
for the most part.
With the 30th pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Philip Davenport, outside linebacker, Zona. Eagles are now on the clock.
I think he fits your scheme better than Fletcher probably would.
The only knock I had on Davenport was he's 5'11". It's kind of short for an outside linebacker, but his combine was really good. One of the best outside linebacker combines we've ever had, I think.
Did you scout him?
Bubata posted in the combine records, or maybe it was a Spark thing.
His 40 is really fast. Holy shit!
Yeah, he broke a bunch of combine records for outside linebackers. I know that.
He's ridiculously athletic.
His vert's really bad.
He did not. The knock on him was like he did not produce numbers at the college level, and then he came out early.
Yeah.
Who's the Arizona coach right now?
It's currently Jumanji, but he only got started like at the end of the year.
Who was the guy before? It was like CJ Crow or something.
And then Wrigley fan, and then you had a couple of other people kind of go in and out. So it's been really
So you can't really
inconsistent. Yeah, so I think people were just kind of.
The Vikings GM apparently only just now realized who he drafted. He said, "Hey, we got Smallwood lit as fuck."
On Davenport's production, he only had 12 tackles last season. That's all he did.
Again, I agree with Neo here probably that the fact that there's so many whenever there's like a dumpster fire coaching in college, I just kind of ignore the stats.
I think he had Wrigley fan at the beginning of the year who disappeared or went to Iowa, I think maybe.
Iowa
at the shutdown, and then Jumanji took over a little bit after that. So he did have maybe 2 different schemes, coaching staffs coaching him.
The problem is that switching schemes up punishes the players kind of a lot. So if there's lots of coaches in one year, it's going to fuck them over. I think the fact that he had... What were his stats like 2 years ago? I guess we don't. I don't know if we have the 2020 stats. It would be interesting to
32
see.
tackles, 3 sacks, and a pick.
Okay, that's kind of better. That would be more what I would expect. I figure he probably should have been due for like 4 sacks, a pick, and a fumble or something his senior year. I don't think... If he had no other stats other than last year, I'd be way more concerned. But with like a good combine and what we know about Arizona, I think he's probably an okay pick.
All right, Eagles are up. I think they might go roll. Their tight ends are an unhappy Demise Spillman, who's an 83, but he's a fourth-year 83. And there's backup is Stanley Shirk, who I know a lot of people hate.
He's going back to the swamp.
Yeah, I 100% think that this is going to be roll. I think I mocked them. I mocked them Ferguson in my mock. A couple of people have kind of bounced back and forth with what they might take. Receiver here is not really viable, I don't feel. Roll
Some
seems
people,
like a good option.
I think some people think he might go. What's the free safety?
Oh, Bowden, yeah, that would be that would be a legit.
That's
pick.
that's the other pick that they could.
Didn't they just take
really
Kirkpatrick a strong safety?
Yeah.
Because that guy was awesome. He
Yes.
had an awesome combine.
He's a -3 locker room guy.
Oof.
Don't sleep on the possibility of Kieran Brooks going here. Roderick Milliken's really the only solid linebacker they have in the middle, and he's entering his 9th season already.
Yeah, that's
that
kind of
is
where
true.
I'm leaning with this pick. I'd kind of mocked Fletcher here just because a BPA and all that, but then again in my mocks, Kieran Brooks was already gone. So yeah, I like Brooks here.
And their outside linebackers are old and kind of not very good either. So I think linebacker could be a sneaky good pick for them here.
Well, they do have Martin Whiting. He's not that old. Oh, he's
listed.
-3.
Yeah. He's listed on the injured reserve on his team page, so some people.
No, I've got him there. I just didn't look high enough on my screen.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's got to have another outside linebacker though, and the other guys are in their 7th and 8th years.
The only people that I did a little thing on the side of the live broadcast or whatever, those were the PFF like sim graded top 35 players, I think, or whatever, 33 players. It was like the top ones that they had grades on, that the sim had grades on. And there's 5 left. It's that linebacker from Charlotte, Dockery, Shaq Turner, Evan Grant, and Bowden, the free safety.
It's interesting. Usually teams like really reach on a cornerback, but there's only been 2 taken. And there are 2 other 80 guys.
I feel like corner is sort of normalizing a little bit.
I think so too.
There's only one other 80. It's Cunningham. Cheatham got knocked down to a 79.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. I still have my thing open with old numbers.
I think the biggest knock on Cunningham is just the complete crater of production from junior senior year, where he did absolutely nothing last season.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit with players, I think.
At the same time, Baylor's front 7 was absolutely loaded, so it's can be hard to break on a stat sheet if those front 7 guys are really playing well.
Yeah, it's interesting on Cunningham because looking at his combine, his numbers aren't bad, but I don't have it in front of me. But if I remember right, wasn't his pro day kind of brutal towards him?
His pro day grades were 6.6, 6.9, 7.2.
That's not that bad.
It's not that bad, but it's also not like really good. It's like pretty mediocre.
I mean, we're like on the 30th pick.
His
Yeah,
combine was actually pretty good, actually. Really good.
His 40 is really fast. His vert's the highest of all corners.
Hey, 13 bench is really nice too.
His
For a
bench
guy
is the
who's
highest of
also
all
fast.
corners as well. Second fastest shuttle, and second fastest 3-cone.
He's also 6'4".
Wow, he's fat. Oh, holy shit, that's crazy. Whoa, but he's like the lowest weight. What the fuck? Thank you, Mr. Hungry Skeletal. Oh my god, the dude is taller than me and weighs like way less. That's crazy.
Slender man.
Eagles are running out of time. They got 2 minutes left. So as day one's wrapping up, who do you guys like the most so far? I guess this only really applies to people who have had multiple picks, unless there's somebody with one pick who you really like.
Well, obviously the Chargers and Bills did themselves a lot of favors, I think.
Chargers took like half the draft.
I think KC, like, some people were questioning if they really needed to trade up to get a quarterback, but it looks like, based on what actually happened, they absolutely did. So they made the right choice.
Yeah, I think they made the right decision.
I think the Giants, hard to fail with their first pick, but I think they got a pretty good offensive weapon with Tevin Lattimore.
Picks in. With the 31st overall pick of the 2022 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Cameron Bowden, free safety, Arizona. Saints are now on the clock.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good pick. If anyone needs a free safety, I have one available. There's like a bunch of crappy free safeties. I know. I'm gonna keep mentioning it.
If we're pimping our players, I have Rashad Simon available for trade.
I have one lightly used Byron Harper. Shout out to those who remember who that even is. He's the original Utah quarterback.
All right, so this is the last pick. New Orleans is picking now and the first pick tomorrow. I think they've been really wanting a running back. I don't know if they're going to take him here. They might save him for the next
I don't know
pick.
if I like these running backs to New Orleans. They don't really fit their offense. Maybe Dockery, I guess.
Well, they also really need the defensive end. Maybe they feel like at this point it's worth taking a shot.
Oh yeah, it might. At this point, it might actually be worth it again. I actually don't disagree with that.
Yeah, Slater is a decent. I mean, it's decent value at this point, I think.
I don't hate Slater as much as some other people do. I think he's okay. I feel like
his pro day really wasn't that bad. Like people like his pro day was like really poor. Like the writing of his pro day was really poor, but the grades on the scout and game tape and stuff were pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe he's just like a development prospect, but
I'm kind of shocked. They don't need an outside linebacker. Oh no, they have what's his name? Because Jabari Fletcher is an 81 and he's still available. That's kind of crazy to me.
They've been making a lot of noise about Alexander Burton, but that could all just be a smokescreen.
We have not been making any noise about Alexander Burton. Everybody else is making noise about us taking Alexander Burton.
Why does this guy get mentioned so often?
I'm pretty sure Imposter told a couple of us the other day to stop mentioning Alexander Burton several times.
That was a joke.
it's because it's an LSU player, right?
I just don't get why of all
blitz
people,
linebacker and go Tigers.
why Burton gets mentioned so much. You should take Kamari Cheatham from NC State. Picks in. With the final pick of the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Deshaun Dockery, running back, Louisville. That concludes day one.
All right. So tomorrow we're starting a little bit earlier, 7 o'clock Eastern.
And it's rounds 2 and 3, right?
Yeah, I believe it's just 2 and 3. And then Sunday is 4 through 7, also starting at 7. But
I'm looking forward to fishing for fun player names with people at the end of the day.
yeah, so make sure you guys update your team pages, start getting your cap sheets in order, because that stuff is going to be important really soon. as for the draft, do we just want to go through, say who we think had the best pick or the best draft overall so far? All right, let's go for who you think had the best pick for like fit versus.
Everybody want to say one person? We'll just go around.
Sure, you
start.
Go
first.
All right. I think Minnesota got extremely lucky just with the way this draft went.
Especially considering their GM was drunk.
Yeah, they got Smallwood at 9. I think that's such a steal. And I'm honestly a little surprised nobody tried to trade up above them, given that like everyone had mocked that guy to them. But I mean, they kind of got the best possible scenario there for them.
Yeah, I can go next. Marcus Golden to the Rams. That's such a great value. Oh my goodness, that dude could have easily gone like 10 picks earlier.
I wish you hadn't said that because that was also my pick. Marcus Golden to the Rams is, I think, the best pick of the first round. That's like crazy value at that point. I don't. That seems.
Yeah, that dude's awesome. Again, I mean, I wish we needed a mic because I would have taken him at 20 without even blinking.
Yeah. Clem, who's your favorite pick?
I actually really like Ryan Ayers to the Chiefs. They absolutely needed a quarterback because Russell's recruiting is really, really not good. And I think if they get a wide receiver, which you're looking to get, I think they immediately can really challenge Vegas for that division.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, one of the top picks as well. Jarrett, do you have a favorite pick?
Well, maybe it's cheating to go all the way up to 4, but I really love the Chargers getting Noah Barney because they really needed to solidify the interior of their line. Also, I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to New Orleans kind of zigging and taking David Sutton and pissing off about half the teams in the draft.
You mean New England?
Yeah, New England. The other new one.
Oh, what the hell did I say?
There's other new ones too.
You said New Orleans.
Oh, damn it.
So those are our favorite picks. Who do you guys think had the best draft, regardless of the picks? You guys, I mean, is it just gonna be the Chargers for most people, or the Bills, or?
I think yeah, I mean, it's hard to go against teams like that because, you know, when you have 3 first-round picks and they're all, you know, 2 of them are in the top 5.
Don't forget the curse. Every team that's taken 3 first-round picks has had issues.
That's true.
The Chargers should have traded back up into the first 4, so that way they couldn't have lost it. But I actually think I like the Chargers picks, but I think they had a missed opportunity by not taking a tackle.
I'll say the Chargers did try to trade back up into the first for a 4th.
Oh my God! What?
They tried to. So the other team we were talking with other than Alien was the Chargers.
What the fuck?
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, you said that you're shocked that they didn't take a tackle, but they took a guard. So I mean.
Yeah, but I just think that their O-line is still really bad.
I mean, they can still take a tackle tomorrow. It's not like there aren't any. They pick early.
Yeah, they can. I don't know. I feel like Jarvis Ward was not the best pick for them. I think because they just signed Cobb, and I feel like they should have went somewhere else with that pick. But
the biggest issue I have with the Ward pick is actually that I don't think Cobb can be a number 1 receiver. I don't think he should be a number 1 receiver. And I don't think Ward is a number 1 receiver either. So now you have 2 number 2s, which is weird. The reason Cobb was good in Miami, I believe, is that he had Yeldon, who's like legitimately Randy Moss. So I always had problems when I had Cobb. I mean, he wasn't as good when I had him, but he just didn't perform in the number 1 spot, really, unless there was somebody strong opposite him. And I think that Ward is not that kind of person.
I agree. If I were going to take a wide receiver for the Chargers, I would have taken Lattimore.
Yeah, Lattimore. Yeah, I agree.
Because I think he's more of a true number one, and I mean, it is a need, and they're trying to go all in for Matty Swift, but I think it would have been better to take some more blocking.
I have to agree. I think Ward's probably more talented than Lattimore, but you have to sort of fit him in a certain way.
I think the Barney pick was excellent. Justice, I'm not sure. It seems a bit high for a cornerback. I can't blame them, really, because their secondary is terrible. I think they did what they could, really. I would have really liked to see them take Yeldon with Barney to pair him, but...
Yeah, I think Arizona had, the weirdest draft. I'm not really sure what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I don't fully understand their plan. I mean, maybe we'll see tomorrow. They have an early pick again. Also underrated, shout out to Buffalo, not just for trading up and taking Matt Jones, but Jones getting a center to pair him with, and the center being Cuellar, is excellent, I think. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I agree. We saw just how much, just Jason Johnson, before he got Lucas Hurd, was...
Good example.
It seemed like his play was kind of taking a dip. And he got Lucas Hurd, he all of a sudden was an MVP candidate, and then they won the Super Bowl. And center is if you can get a center that's elite and they can play that highly as a rookie, it's going to do wonders for your quarterback.
I think that's actually a really excellent observation that you've made that doesn't frequently get mentioned on the site, or I haven't seen it in discussions, is that, and I noticed this in 2019, not to the same degree, but frequently it seems, especially in NFL, that quarterbacks seem to have turned around a little bit when the centers have been switched up. And I didn't notice it as well with Hurd until you just mentioned it, because I wasn't looking for it at the time. But I think there's more to this here than either most people have discovered or even I have really noticed, because I feel like there's something with quarterback center chemistry that nobody's really tapped into at all. And I think the fact that the Bills gave up on getting a skill position player and instead took what I think is the better choice in the center here is a good decision.
I agree. They're still not going to have a ridiculously good offense next year because they don't really have a running back.
No, yeah,
they don't really have receivers. They have Matt Thomas, who's a good receiver as a tight end, but
I think they'll take a step, but they'll likely be back here again next year, unfortunately. Which I think may not be necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it'll be kind of like the Redskins. I don't think they're going to take as big of a step as the Redskins, but I think they can move up a ways at least.
Well, yeah, the Redskins also had an amazing free agency last year.
Crazy.
So and the Bills didn't really do a whole lot in free agency, but the Bills are also in one of the hardest divisions. Let's be honest. The Jets and the Dolphins are perennial playoff teams, and New England is always kind of in the middle. So
New England always wins against who they're supposed to win against, then loses against who they're supposed to lose against. So they just end 6-10 every year.
Yeah.
Other interesting takeaways. I'll just do my quick rundown because this was requested of the first round, and fits that I think are good or interesting in some way. I discussed the Bills stuff already. Kyrie Bryant to the Giants. We never really talked about this because it was kind of a foregone conclusion, but I mean, I legitimately think he's like Tyrone Jones. They have an aging Curtis Lewis, right? So
yeah,
they may be able to let him go. I don't know. He must be on the second contract. He's not on his rookie contract. No,
he's on a massive contract from Dream that's 100% guaranteed.
For how many years?
It's another 3 or something. It's ridiculous.
Oh shit, that's not good. Well, if somebody can trade for him, maybe. I mean, he's not bad, but I think Kyrie Bryant is a whole nother level over Curtis Lewis. So that's good. The Cincinnati Bengals pick of Timothy Key. I don't really have much to say. I mean, I coach Key. I like him. He's a 3-4 defensive end. Don't try him in a 4-3. He seems good to me. I think the Bengals probably should have taken Barney, but Key seems fine. He's opposite, or he's next to Sela, so should be good. Especially in that conference, which doesn't really throw it very much, especially against like Ryan Clark and whatever the fuck the Ravens are trotting out at quarterback. Cardinals with Yeldon, we've discussed this ad nauseum. Not really sure. I don't really know what their plan is. We'll find out tomorrow. He's a good player. They have Paul Davenport. I don't know what kind of scheme they're going to run. They can't really run Des and Yeldon since they're both power. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested. I'm not going to discuss my own pick for reasons. Sebastian Smallwood, I think, is probably one of the best picks in the draft, but everybody kind of saw this coming. Parker Holmes, I'm not sure about, but I don't really blame the 49ers for taking him because they've needed a defensive end for, probably since they existed, really, right? I mean, have they ever taken him?
No, I don't think so. They have drafted a defensive tackle who kind of busted, but not a defensive end.
I don't remember them ever taking a defensive end. So whether this works out or not, I think it's a good decision because I think at some point you just have to go for it. Ryan Harris to the Chiefs, I really like. I was the person who I guess started swaying public opinion on Ryan Harris because I think he's good. I legitimately think he's good. He may not be the most effective QB right away, but I think he has lots of developmental potential. And he's got Terrence Rogers, which I think is going to help a lot. Culver to the Falcons, I'm not sure about really. I don't really have that much of an opinion. We know Jefferson is not like a top quarterback. At some point, you had to do it. I guess maybe Culver is the point. And Utah was quite terrible, other than Culver, and he somehow like willed them to like a top. What did they finish rank?
They won. They won the Pac-12, didn't they?
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
They went to the playoffs.
Oh yeah. That's fucking ridiculous. Like that roster had no business, and they had no coach, I think, or like a mediocre, or like an AFK coach or something.
They had a new guy who doesn't really talk much.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Regardless, so it's worth trying it, I guess. It's not like you're shedding a top pick, but they did trade up. Kenyon Randall to the Lions, I really like. I think this is going to be an awesome fit, and I can't wait to see it. It's going to be an awesome offense to watch, I think. We've discussed my Jarvis Ward opinion with the. I think Lattimore would have been better for the reasons I said with Cobb, but I'm not gonna continue discussing that, I guess. Lattimore to the Giants, I think I like, but they need to figure out their quarterback situation because giving a rookie receiver like Will Thompson or whatever you're going to get is not going to be the greatest fit. Sutton to the Patriots, I have like literally no opinion on. I don't know. It depends on their needs. I think Sutton's good. Patton to the Browns is a little confusing to me. You guys said that. Again, Browns are not one of those teams that I really analyze very much. They have Mark Coney and who else is behind Miller? Who's the other guy? Oh, Burkhardt. Yeah, so I guess they needed a wide receiver. It's another one of those, if you want him to go for it kind of things. Tyrese Thompson of the Titans, I really like. I don't know why both the linebackers fell so much. Be interested to know what you guys think about, like, why did... I had Thompson, like, at, like, 10 and Golden at, like, 12, and they both fell way more.
Yeah. I know on Thompson, Rome was, like, kind of down on him a little bit at the end of the process, like, in the last couple days.
But he was hyping him at the end of the season, so I don't...
Yeah, I have no idea. He was... I think he expected the pro day to be better, but I don't know. To me, he looked elite.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Rome was just, they're not getting 9.5s across the board. There's something wrong with them. I think that was his deal.
Meh.
Raiders traded up for Kyle Will. I don't know why this guy fell this far again. Like I said, for the other guys, Raiders made the move they had to. Their line's getting older, so I think it's a good pick. This is now out of order, but I'll discuss them the way they're listed on the interface. Adcock to the Buccaneers, I'm not really a fan of, mostly. Not because of the need. I understand that they need to get younger at defensive tackle. And maybe this is a good place for him to go with Frank Williams. But Adcock seemed... I looked at his stuff because I was looking for defensive tackle stuff because of Shamar Ware, and I was like, I don't want this guy. Basically, after like reading the pro day and some other stuff, I was just not sold on him at all. Evan Walsh to the Broncos. Don't have much to say about it. It seems, it fills a need. DJ Franklin to the Cowboys. I didn't realize the Cowboys needed an offensive tackle, so I don't know if you guys have anything to say about this, but I guess he's replacing that Garrison or whatever his name is, the ECU guy, Giovanni Garrison, I think.
They still have Justin Campbell, but they don't really have a solid option across from him.
Is Campbell's getting kind of old, right? He's like 7th year.
Entering his 8th, but he's still at 97.
Right, I know, but he's like 30.
I remember at one point, like when I played the Cowboys last year, it was like probably like week 12 or something like that. They had only given up like 1 sack the entire season.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually. They ended up giving up like 15, I think, but
it's still like really low. But their O line is like really fucking good, and it's just got even better. So
I wonder if they had other needs. Only the first round has happened, granted, so I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Can't really judge it yet, but they need wide receiver at some point. Golden to the Rams, I think is, like I said already earlier, I think might be my favorite pick. I really like Marcus Golden. Hargrove to the Panthers fills a need. Tre'Davious Dykes to the Redskins. I'm not sure if the Redskins are in a position where they can take these like boom or bust guys. I think it's better than if he had gone to a team that needed to rely on him. I'm not sure the Redskins need to rely on him. They have Michael Barber, so that's probably a little bit better. They can risk to gamble. This feels a lot like when I had that Laurent Christensen pick like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Where like they had somebody else that can cover, so they can take the risk. I feel like I would have liked the Redskins to go one more like sure thing to help Bowman out. But I think once you start getting good is when you can start taking obvious risks like this. It's a little bit better. So I don't think it's a terrible pick. Steelers with Howard. I had said this before he got drafted, I think, but I had like a mid-second round grade on him. I don't know. We had we had like 20 minutes of discussion about this already. His stats were like really underwhelming in terms of progression. We'll see. Maybe he'll just continue on the same pace and have like the weirdest career trajectory with like no improvement, but consistency. Lovelace, I don't know. This was one I asked, I think, Neo about, because Neo knew. I don't know much about this guy. Manny Ferguson to the Packers, I think, is good. Bernard Taylor is like 31, so it's a good backup. I think he can already. He doesn't need any time spent learning, so he can probably just start as the second tight end. Davenport, I think, is probably good based on what I looked up after he got picked to the Patriots, especially because they need a linebacker. And then I feel the same way about Davenport to the Patriots as I do about Bowden to the Eagles. It feels like one of those situations where like they can kind of do that just because of the way that their team is structured. And especially I trust like D-Stack and Proletariat. They find some like they're one of my favorite teams to watch in NFLHC, mostly because they don't follow like they feel like the most not by the book team. They just kind of do whatever they want. They don't ever talk in the shout box, and they're kind of not like how do I say this? It's like the opinion doesn't sway them because they don't usually get involved in that kind of stuff, so they just kind of do their own thing, and they've gotten the team is like one of the best in the NFL. So I think they're kind of an interesting team to learn from and watch and see how they kind of commit and do things. And then Dockery to the Saints, which I didn't realize Sterling Brown had kind of fallen apart, I guess. Or maybe you're just looking to move on.
He's going to retire next year probably.
Already? Holy shit. I remember when he was like lighting it up at Texas.
Yeah.
That dude, like, if you guys were not around at like the beginning of the site, like Sterling Brown is like the man, the original.
Oh, he was awesome. He's the OG.
He was like legitimately like Ricky Williams in college. It was fucking crazy. He ran for like 300 yards 2 games in a row at one point.
And then Texas had that weird streak where they just like stopped using him completely.
Oh, yeah, who was
That was so fucking crazy. He had a game where he had like 3 carries.
Yeah, what the fuck? That was with like who was the quarterback? It was like Sam.
That was
White?
that was Brad. Wasn't that?
Oh yeah, Brad
what's his
Davis.
face? Yeah, Brad Davis. It was either Brad Davis or right before Brad Davis.
It was like he ran for like 200 yards like 2 games in a row, and then they went like 60 passing attempts a game. That was
like
so weird.
Was that Dollar Bill? Who was the coach? Like the clone?
Was it Dalt? That was
yeah,
so
I think it was Dollar Bill.
Oh my god, I can't believe that guy's gonna retire already. Holy shit. That's crazy to me. What the fuck?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, Dockery, I think if they needed a running back, Dockery was the better choice over Evan Grant for their scheme. I think with Devereaux, you kind of have to have a speed back for like dump offs, especially with they have Sean Jenkins who takes the top off the defense, so you can have Dockery undercut, which is nice. They need another wide receiver though, but they have the first pick of tomorrow. So that shouldn't be an issue. And they also have, I think the Saints also have like 52 or something, or 51, somewhere in that neighborhood. I was looking at the second stuff.
We have 51.
Okay, so yeah, that's my rundown with the first round. I'll try to do one of these at the end of every day because people are always curious to know what I think.
Can't wait to hear you do the rundown of rounds 4 through 7 all at once.
I don't think that's happening. I think that'll be like I'm gonna pick which names I like. To be fair, like round 7 is like my favorite part of the draft because we just bullshit about random memes and.
Oh yeah, it's everybody's like loopy.
It's the best. The worst is like the black hole that is the 5th round when everybody's just like, oh.
Yeah, you're trying not to take it seriously, but it's still
guys,
at the point where
this draft was way better already than last year's so far because last year's was fucking horrific. It was so bad. There was like no interesting players whatsoever. All right, well I was trying to make it go almost exactly 3 hours. I looked at when we were done or whatever. We had like 15 minutes left. I was like, oh man, 3 hours would be a nice finishing time. So I was gonna give my rundown. I'm sorry I was cutting people off and stuff, but just wanted to give
you're good.
My full-on explanation of everything. I mean, I guess I'll let Alien take it off, finish it up, wrap it up. But 7 o'clock tomorrow. I guess we can start like 15 minutes earlier, or something, or 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah, 7 o'clock is when the clock will start running. That's Eastern. Hopefully everyone can make it. We're going to have a couple different people on the broadcast tomorrow. I believe we're having Tuscan Soda and Imposter and possibly some interviews. So for people, if we have some time to interview some GMs about their picks. Also, that'll happen on day 3 as well.
And anybody who was on the broadcast today, Clem, Neo, J-Rit, if you guys want to come back on any of the other days, you're welcome to. If not, or you're busy or not here or whatever, thank you for coming out.
Oh, no problem. Happy to do it.
My pleasure.
I would have liked to come Sunday, but in the last like 4 hours, I got a date, so I will not be here Sunday.
You were like one of the traditions for coming on to bullshit about random names.
Yeah, no, it's always a ton of fun. I love doing it, but yeah. I didn't get mad this time either.
Not yet. There's still 6 rounds.
That's true. I mean, the thing is, though, nobody can cut us off with 33. So.
Oh, I'm sure something's gonna happen tomorrow. We'll see.
Oh yeah. Also, if you traded, make sure you post it on the forum because. Oh yes, that's a good point.
Oh, right. Just a random last bit of trivia in case anyone actually gives a crap. SEC has 12 players drafted in the first round. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 follow with 6 apiece. And then, of course, as everyone predicted, the Mountain West is 4th with 3.
What the fuck? What?
Yeah, those are two Fresno State and then Evan Walsh out of Nevada. For
what
the Mountain
school
West.
is leading currently because of the recruiting bonus?
Right now we have a 6-way tie with 2 players each. Ohio State, Florida, Fresno State, Oregon, Penn State, and Auburn.
Oh my god, Fresno State. If that happens.
Oh, and Arizona. Sorry.
I think Auburn probably ends up taking it myself.
I think, doesn't Ohio State have like... Oh no, never mind. They don't have the many.
I think I would say Michigan both at 10 in the draft.
Oh yeah, Michigan as well could take it.
Oh yeah, they have a bunch of like mid-level players.
All right, well, we're gonna sign off for the night. Happy drafting tomorrow, everybody. See you right back here, 7 o'clock.
Good night, everyone.
Later, guys.
Night.
Night.
Happy
Bye.
drafting.